Hi, everybody.
Good morning, afternoon, or whatever time it is for you.
It's episode 64 of the worst, best reptile podcast. Not safe for work, by the way. Not for children, not for babies, not for sensitive people, but it is for adults.
It is for adults who don't mind a little swearing and a little sexual innuendo and that the titties don't bother.
Titties are nice. Everybody likes them.
Yeah, if you don't, it's okay. Just turn it off or to listen to our audio only.
Free of titties.
Free of titties. So, yeah.
All right, let's see who's in the chat. Chat's popping off.
Popping off. Yo, yo, yo. Hello. Good morning.
Bernie Hart Exotics. Good morning. Or afternoon. I don't know what time I am. Kaiju Constrictors. Patricia Cooper. Tradesman. Stoneage is here. What's up, Stoneage? Mr. Feely is in the house.
Well, hello.
I know. H&H Pythons. Bree. Smoky Mountain Balls.
Hi, Bree.
Bows and Balls. Aaron. Who else? Oh, Silver Dragon. Devious.
Lisa's
Xotics.
here.
My God. Thank you for coming, everybody.
There's a lot. Whoa. Hello, people.
I'm trying to hit everybody. Montana Mike's Reptiles. Peter. Super Snake Syndicate.
905s. Did we say Sierra Scales?
I don't know. It's crazy. Lisa. Megamorphs. Good morning. 905 loves innuendos. 10 out of 10, he says. Miss Gray.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Happy New Year. Happy 2023, hopefully.
Bravo, Zulu. Patricia Cooper. Mr. Nobody.
Whoa. Hello.
Very
Hello,
secret.
ladies. Yes. All right. It is a packed house this morning.
Thank you for coming, everybody. We're excited to announce it's a new year. New me. Maybe.
Oh, yeah?
I'm kidding. Probably the same old me. Just as shit as every other time. So just real quick, we have reptile shows coming up. Jana has
2 Northwest Reptile Expo in Portland. It's a one-day show, January 14th. You can check out my Instagram for like address and times. I will be posting that this week. And then in 3 weeks is the Pac Northwest here in Puyallup. And I will be there, and Powerhouse will be there, and Stoneage will be there, and lots of other local people to me. If you're within driving distance, please come out, stop by, say hello, say you listen, get a hug, whatever. Just pop by. That would be great.
And then I'll be at Shawnee, Oklahoma Herp Show. Not this weekend, but next weekend. So.
And don't hug her. She doesn't like it. It's like a biosecurity trigger
right away.
Don't
also,
touch.
Don't
Jessica.
lay on my table with your gross body, please.
Yeah. Don't touch.
Oh Lord! And Pomona's this weekend, so anybody who's going to that, have fun. Don't touch anybody's tables, though. But do have fun.
And don't lick any displays. Okay.
No, please
good
don't
advice
lick anything.
Here.
Right. Yeah. All right. Since it's a new year, we have some reason more sponsors. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
We needed a drum roll.
I've thought about a soundboard, and I asked my husband if that's cringe or not. He's like, yes. So I have to believe his taste level.
It's not cringe, and we have all this lovely investment capital from our lovely sponsors that we could invest in a soundboard if we needed to.
I think it's cringe because it's like it has that like mid-90s shock jock value.
Hey, those were the best days ever.
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Is
it safe to listen at work without headphones, Jessica? I don't know.
I'll try. I don't know. I try to keep it together, but I don't do a good job.
What's funny is like, even if we ever hit 1,000, not that we were like striking it rich on YouTube anyway, but if we ever hit 1,000, they're going to demonetize us instantly. Every single episode.
Right. Most live streamers who like stream about like politics or whatever, they just assume those will get demonetized anyway because they just say too many curse words or whatever, just in the normal course of a conversation. And so when they port their clips to like, usable chunks, they'll have their editors beep everything out, not because they personally care, but because YouTube, the algo doesn't like, adult language.
Yeah. So Smoky Mountain Balls says that she thinks it would look good with her logo up there. Bravo Zulu says a soundboard would be awesome, and she was requesting fart noises, please. I concur. I fully support this.
I'll think about it. I mean, I just want like little kids cheering, yay, like the stuff like that, because we already clap anyway, like a bunch of degenerates. All right. Since we have a bunch of new sponsors, let's get into them. Share all of their fun facts. The first one, and I asked Chad, I was like, Chad, do me a solid. And he did. So he offered us hold on, I gotta find it. A coupon code just for the holdback rack. The code is #shithappens for $5 off your crypto panel.
You even made it awesome just for us. Shit happens, everybody.
It sure does. And even your ball pythons, this is good for any species, including ball pythons, because crypto can get in them and cause problems too. And I think it's something that's underutilized.
Or if you have a mixed species collection and you just want to do some random checks to make sure your biosecurity is okay, use this code.
Right. You just write it somewhere on the top of the sheet, literally #shithappens, and you'll get $5 off. And that's a good deal because
that's a really good deal. That's like 25% off or something.
Yeah.
Or 20% off.
And pack 10, in case anybody wants to know, still works. So that's 10% off any test, which was Pack Python's code. That code still works. It's still valid. So if you're just doing Nido or do a void panel or whatever, use that. But if you're just doing crypto because you want to start figuring that out in your collection, shit happens. And I did use the exclamation point as a homage to Mr. Bradley. So, thank you.
Richard, the code it doesn't expire. You can use it as many times as you want. You can use it for as many tests as you want. It is valid for each test, each time. So it's not a one-time use code. This will be valid until we say it's not valid, which we never will. So, or he says, let's give you a new one.
Right.
But we're trying to encourage an underutilized test.
Yes. And he said if you send him bags of poop, he will get mad at you. He doesn't want bags of poop.
No poop. Just swab poop.
Hold on. I got some.
And no like
swabs
falling off of no poop coming off of swabs, but like a nice clean sample, guys.
You can buy them by the 100, or you can buy 10, or you can buy 5. They look like this.
Do they still have their 100 pack hidden?
No, now it's available because the COVID people weren't stealing them all.
Okay.
So you buy this, you'll find a fresh feces, and you'll swirl it in there, not urates, feces, and then you put it back in. The oocysts are very persistent, so you don't have to refrigerate or overnight it if you don't want to, but it's got poop on it, so it'll stink. So in that way, you might want to refrigerate it and send it a little bit faster, but I don't overnight crypto unless I'm testing Nido or Arena or something anyway. But just the normal swabs, no bags of poop. He, for some reason, gets large bags of feces on the regular.
So do not use our code with bags.
Right, because he told me, I was like, listen, if they send me poop, they're getting cut off. And I'm like, okay.
You will not get the discount if you send bags of poop. Also, CRM reptiles. You can 100% do a Nido test on an animal that has passed away as long as you have not frozen it. And there is a spot on the sheet that says deceased animal. So you'd
and there's
that.
a time.
And there's a time period. Like you can it's been 3 weeks and I'm going to swab them because they're out in my yard buried or whatever. But like quickly after they pass away, what is it? I put mine in my fridge right away and I swabbed her like the next day. And then I put it in my fridge because it was like a weekend.
I don't think anybody knows like the extinction coefficient for when virus is dead in an animal that it was once living in, but a couple of days tops.
Yeah, it was like 1 or 2 days, and then I swabbed it, and then it was like 1 or 2 days till they ran the test, and she did come back positive. So just do it quickly.
Yeah, the 10% off code is PAC 10.
PAC 10.
Yeah,
because it's for pack pythons, right?
And hashtag PAC 10. And there's no like good spot on the form, but there's usually like spots you don't fill in because you're not a vet or
big
whatever.
open spots. You can just
you
literally
just
write it on there. And if you want to know where all these codes are, you guys, we have a Discord specifically for disease testing and biosecurity. So it's invite only. Just message me or Jessica and we can hook you up with that. And it's got a lot of good community support about disease testing and can answer your questions. And it's just a great place to go if you're testing curious, or if you're just starting out testing, or if you want to be somewhere and talk with like-minded people. That's a great place to do that.
Sierra said she swabbed it on Friday, refrigerated it, sent it on Monday, still came back positive. I believe you. I just like the longer you wait.
That's about what I had, so like within a few days, and be refrigerating stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you have to swab something because you're like, I don't know, something came in new or whatever, and there's a couple days, refrigerate the DNA, RNA.
I'm sorry, Jessica. I wasn't trying to.
I saw that.
I wasn't trying to throw you off. I was waiting patiently. DTMG pythons, I stand with tatas.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually called the assistants, but that's okay. I'll forgive you just this once. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the show.
All right. Lori says, Lori, you didn't get the instructions. She says, send poopy in bags. Check.
Check.
Lori.
Then none of your codes are going to work and we're going to get a phone call.
Right. No, but we appreciate Chad giving us a code to help you guys out to promote a product that he uses. And I think I'm very happy that he wanted to offer us that opportunity.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful, and hopefully nobody sends in bags of poop, and we can continue to have a good relationship with Ral so that we can pass that on to
no
you guys.
Poop, please. Okay. And then who are our other sponsors, Jana? I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh. Do we have a sponsor? I think we have a whole bunch.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Shane Kelley, he's still our sponsor.
Oh my gosh.
Dang it.
I'm actually wearing a shirt today.
You have his shirt? I don't have his shirt. How do you have his shirt?
I'm a bitch. I bought it with money.
I need to buy it. That's true. I haven't done that. So.
I have an extra one that doesn't fit my boobs, so I have to mail it to you. But we just
that's why I didn't buy one.
Right, we have to send each other snakes or something, and I'll use it as packaging.
As padding, So Shane Kelley, he has a really cool video up talking about his surprise clutch.
Mm-hmm.
He had a male that wasn't eating, and he put it in with a smaller female, just thinking that neither of them really was ready to breed. But she ended up going, and his male started eating, so it was like a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was really shooting for the exact copy of the dad, because the dad's not a good eater and he's not very big. So he got what he wanted. It all worked out. The mom is fine, dad's fine, and we have a new male that can take over for dad. Awesome. Also, Bob Vu dropped on one of the shows he was just on that if you don't want an accidental clutch, which I don't see how this is a problem right now, but in the future, if you don't want a clutch, there you can put one of the snakes in a snake bag and put them in the same bin, and it's like a snake condom. So hashtag Bob Vu tips.
If you can't penetrate, it doesn't count.
If you can't penetrate, it doesn't count, but apparently it still can trigger them to go into a feeding response because they smell each other.
Yeah.
But visit Shane Kelley, watch his YouTube. If you want leopard geckos, hognose, ball pythons, he does mostly the high-end stuff on ball pythons and hognose, but leopard geckos, they're pretty much the pet range, right? The more affordable range.
Some of this bold site stuff is legit,
Yeah, okay.
They're heavy
hitter over there. So Shane is still our sponsor. He's the OG. We love him still. He'll be around this year as well. And then Roger and Lori Gray. Shout out to Lori in the comments.
Aww.
They are now an official sponsor of the Holdback Rack. They are in Huntsville, Alabama, and they work with VPI Axanthic, and Pied. They also have some Madagascar tree boas that they're hoping to breed in the future, which is really cool. I love it when people have unique side projects. They have available VPI Axanthic Pied babies on their site, but they're marked on hold just because of the weather. So if you go on their site and you look and you see one that says on hold that you'd like, just message them, but you probably won't be able to get it till like March because of the weather right now. They are also planning to get into
100 corn snakes.
100 corn snakes. No, they're also planning to get into the G-stripe clown, which is very exciting to me because I'm in that project. And they're also wanting to make abyss pieds, which is super mahogany. Hang on, I lost my place. GHI. And they're saying they haven't seen that in pied yet. And
it takes a while to hit it one way or the other.
Correct. So they're hoping to work towards that in the future, and this season get some of the pieces for that. So if any of those projects are exciting to you, reach out. Gray Family Snakes. They're a really awesome couple with 4 kids, and they do it all. So
and they are, testing friendly, and they've been a fan for a long time. They asked to sponsor a long time ago, but I'm a big old bitch, and so I was scared. They've been very supportive and considerate, and I'm grateful for them. For sure.
Thank you for your patience while we figured our shit out. We just had to take it out back and beat each other up, and then we were good.
Yeah, I just want to do good by everybody. That's my real legit feeling in my heart.
We have 51 people watching. I'm like dying over here. Okay, next up for official sponsorship is Andrew Boring. That is his real name. Mr. Andy is Powerhouse Pythons. He is local to me. We vend all the same shows. Phenomenal guy. His projects are Dreamsicle, Clown Pied, and DG Clown. So if those are projects that you're involved with, he'd be the great guy to hit up for that. He also, if you're local to us, he breeds all the rodents. So whatever you need, he's probably got it. So hit him up for that too. We have all the links for these people on all their social medias, their businesses, Morph Markets, all that. Andrew, I don't believe he's on Morph Market, but he is on, my brain just went blank.
Husbandry Pro.
Thank you. Husbandrypro.com is where his website is. And so all of that's linked below. And if you're local, pop by and say hi to Andrew as well.
He's in Tacoma.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I meant at if you're coming to the local shows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did want to highlight some
local
North breeders, because people don't think anybody's in the Pacific Northwest.
Correct. We want to shine some more light. There are lots of amazing breeders out in this area. And even though Jessica has moved, I still consider her in this area, which is weird and dumb, but it's our area. And these people have supported us from the beginning. And it's just amazing to have local sponsors that are as excited about the hobby and this podcast as we are. So we're really grateful for you.
All right.
And then we have the amazing Eileen Jarp, and she is Bravo Zulu. And if you can't tell from the name of her business, she is a veteran. She's a Navy veteran, woman-owned Navy veteran business. Come on. Can we get a soundboard for that? Like, fuck yes. Thank you. And she has kindly supported us this year, and we're really excited about it. I love supporting other women businesses. I love supporting military, and Jessica's husband's in the military, and we're both women, and it's just awesome to have that demographic as one of our supporters. She is also doing full-time college. I feel you on that. That's so bad. But she'll be majoring in wildlife biology and conservation. So, I mean, Jessica and you can just chat it up. Maybe we'll have, when we have you on, you guys can talk over me and I can go, huh? But that's really, really cool. So she works with Bongo, G-Stripe Clown, and other clown projects. Another G-Stripe Clown person, which we can all just like trade babies. It'll be fantastic. I'm really excited about this. And then she also is the creator and admin for the Women Ball Python Breeders on Facebook. If you are a woman breeder in the industry and you are not a part of that group, go right now and add yourself, because it's a really positive, only amazing, supportive place. It's a great resource if you're just starting out. My first season breeding, I lived on that group and asked questions, and everyone was so nice, and I learned so much. And it's just like this resource of women's knowledge that everyone's willing to give you. And like, there was never rude comments, there was never any putting down. It was just so supportive and so positive all the time, and it's really hard to find that in the reptile industry. And so if you are a woman or you fit that demographic or identify she, her, please join. And I think that's also one of the places Jessica and I first connected, is because I was like, hey, you're local to me. Hey, you're also in this group.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Anyway, so that's a really cool thing that she's doing for the community. And then another sponsor. I feel like this is a lot. How many is that?
Keep it going. We won't do this every time, guys. We're just doing an introduction.
This is just the introduction to our sponsors. I promise we're not going to talk for an hour about sponsors every episode. But this is the first time.
That hardcore rat action.
Yeah. We want to just give them their due and say an extra super huge thank you. So our next sponsor is Christopher Shelly of B&S Reptilia. He's in Pennsylvania, and he works with like the Noah's Ark collection. I'm really excited to have him on and to hear about all the different species that he works with. I'm going to just pop off a few. Obviously, ball pythons, Woma pythons, king snakes, bull snakes, boas, bloods, pines. Those are all kinds of pines. So, I mean, just like so many species of snakes, and I think that that's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. If you want to know more about him or you don't really know who he is, he's actually been on a bunch of podcasts lately. He was on Proper Royals, Lady Tiz, Keys Constructors, Warfels Morphs, and then he's going to be on Herp Collectors in March. And then sometime this year, each of our sponsors, if they would like, will be doing an episode with us. So you'll also get to learn more about them then. So anyway, thank you, Christopher.
Isn't he booked in for next week? Or is he not booked in?
We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
And then last but definitely not least, we left him till the last because he has a promotion going on. So Justin Brill, Stoneage Ball Pythons, also a local to us. I also do all the shows with him. Phenomenal guy. He is running a giveaway, and next week he is going to be announcing the winner live on our show, or we're going to be. I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be announced on our show. They are giving away 2 snakes, a clown male from Cue Balls and a sugar yellow belly female from Stoneage. So all you have to do is like the accounts, tag 2 friends. You can tag as many as you want. Each person that you tag is a entry into the contest. Also, if you go to his store and buy any of his merch, for every $1 you spend on merch, that's how many entries you get into the contest. So if that's something that interests you, check them out, and we'll be announcing the winner next Friday.
Mm-hmm. All right, we did it.
We made it, guys. Are you still here? How many of you did we lose? Let's be honest. A few, I think.
Yeah. We recognize that's long, and we recognize like long intros are not that fun for people, so we're splitting sponsor spots between like the beginning and like before news, and we'll probably switch who is where or whatever, keep it fun and try to give you something new about each person each time instead of reading.
And we'll try to get through it quickly without being disrespectful for their support. I mean, that's just I mean, they're here, they're supporting us, we are going to support them back, and hopefully you guys can be understanding of that. But like I said, this is not the format, but every January when we do announce who's going to be our sponsors for the year, we will have to do a long rollout, just to be courteous.
Know who they are. Yeah,
and be respectful of they're investing their time or their money, and we're investing our time. And so I mean, we just thank you for your patience and understanding, and we are going to move on to the topic, right?
Yes. And then as for like the drama that's been happening, we are going to talk about it, but we're talking about it at the end because some people don't want to hear about it at all. and they want to hear about rats. So we're going to talk about rodents first. Then we're going to talk about news, and we'll save that for the end, just out of respect for the people who are just like, I can't handle any more discussion. But we did feel compelled at this point that it was just so intense. It has to be talked about. Legit.
Right. But that'll be at the end, so you guys can leave if you want to. So let's get into rodents, because I think that's why a lot of people are here.
Okay.
We're excited about rodents.
I guess, Jana, if you want to like keep an eye on the chat for questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I can barely pay attention to what I'm doing as it is. All right, is everybody ready? Doggy bag 2022. RIP.
RIP. Oh man.
So
why don't they just rename it like doggy bag for rats?
There was a person who used to buy doggy bag from my Tractor Supply that bought them specifically to feed raccoons. So like it had more utility for like other kinds of animals than
I don't think anyone's feeding it to their dogs.
No, it's not for dogs. It's for everything else.
Not for dogs, but it's sad. It's going to be missed greatly by a lot of people. It was very affordable. It was very effective.
Mm-hmm. And it was national, so people could easily be like, is there a Tractor Supply brand in your region? They have a dog food that's just shit for dogs, but it's pretty good for rats. Go get it. So it was easy to like explain. Now we're in a world where like you might have a good
it's regional
local
and it's
flavor of whatever.
Yes, it's so hard. So the ones that we've picked out, I know that we didn't hit all of them. I know that there are more, but they're usually very specific, like state specific. And so if you guys want to throw out in the comments the state specific one, go for it, but say where you are, because it's going to be a lot harder moving forward to talk about this nationally and what to feed your rodents. It's gone.
So here's what's like there are a lot of things you could feed rodents, including human carcasses, by the way. This is like some of the big
That's just
ones.
for emergencies.
That's to hide the evidence.
That's right.
Missouri 6F, which if you buy it from some people, it's usually around 66 cents a pound. Comblotch, the 18%, 77 cents a pound from Chewy, but it can be cheaper if you buy it through a feed store. Kent 23, which is a regional one that you can't find that much, but it's probably like the cheapest designated rodent food at 51 cents a pound. And then like the local varieties of dog or pig food that remained are usually around 50 cents a pound. There are 1 million kinds of rodent food. And I made a sexy spreadsheet and it's in the links, but we're not going to look at it that hard right now because it'll just like,
it's little, it's real little, guys.
Real little, too many words, but it's there. It exists. There's lots of properties to food that would make them good or bad. And I'm going to try to like tell you what those are and how you want to weigh this decision. So just because it's cheap, it's not necessarily good. And just because it's expensive, it's not necessarily good either.
Morph Wizard says that you can get a 50-pound bag of the 23% Calma. How do you say that? For $20 freaking dollars. I think it's like $35, which is still cheaper than the Missouri 23. But damn, that's good.
At his feed store?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah,
So that's like a regional thing. Like if regionally you can find something for around 50 cents a pound and it's good enough, go for it. Everybody else though, I don't know. It just depends on where you are. And if you could go to a grain producer that's local to you and be like, mix me up something with these properties, that's also a good idea. But then you have to be committed to buy that, how many pallets of whatever. All right, let's talk about feeding animals. Here's a lot of words. Let's not read most of them because it's too many words. But the words that matter is a good feed conversion ratio, which is the amount of food you put into the trough that equals a gram of growth on a rat. In a good situation, it's 1.2 to 1.5. I don't know if any producer that I've ever spoken to ever in my life has ever known their rat conversion ratio.
I'm not weighing rats on the daily or the weekly or the
Right,
ever.
So it makes these weird, like, this is the metric by which all other farming kinds of people, gauge their system and how effective it's working, but rodent people
Correct.
don't do that. And
No.
even rodent producers don't do that. And it's very dependent on like lines, so genetics, the age. So obviously the feed conversion ratio goes down the older the animal gets. The quality of the food, and that's sort of an amorphous topic. So we'll try to get into like what that means. But specifically the quality of the protein. So if you're like low on a particular amino acid, they need to eat a lot more to find the rest of that amino acid. And then management strategy. If the building is cold, they need to warm up. So they'll shiver, so they'll use more food. If they have diseases, it's more work.
Yes, I feed almost twice as much in the winter.
Mm-hmm. So this is very like producer dependent, but it is an important metric that we should probably start doing so we can compare apples to apples. Diet.
Pizza. Yes. Doing it right.
Rats are omnivores. Seeds, grains, plant matter, invertebrates, small vertebrates, and everything else. They have a digestive tract that's pretty similar to ours. They don't have a rumen. They don't have multiple stomachs. They need stuff that's relatively digestible. So fiber, when you like overdo the fiber source, like in cattle cubes, for example, they're not getting much from that. It usually just gives them like bloat and then like unusual stool composition because they don't have a rumen. So fiber needs to be like well controlled.
So you would,
in my opinion,
so you would say that the cattle cubes are not a good replacement for doggy bag?
No. And some people have tried it and they're like, it's okay, but I would not because it's
so the longevity
so far from what a normal sort of balanced diet would be.
But if you're looking for something local that's cheap like doggy bag, I would suggest the 18% pig food.
Right, it depends on which one though. Some of them are weird.
Some of them
look
are
at the
weird,
macros.
Have like weird additives that could kill your rats. But so just know which one you're looking at.
Right. But that's a good, like if you put down a layer of lab block of any brand and you want to put like a little sprinkle of something else to cut costs, like pig food, it'll just sit on the lab block and fall down slowly. That's or put it down for weans or whatever because they're too small to figure out how to get up there.
Yep.
That's fine. I'm just trying to like build the narrative of what they need and the fact that lots of things could actually give them what you need if you're thoughtful about it. Oh my God, it's another graph. So we actually know exactly, almost to the T, what rats need because we've done every version of a study on every macronutrient, amino acid, vitamin, mineral, and we know it for maintenance and we know it for like growth and reproduction. So we're not going to read this because it's boring, but it's in there's a document in the like show description. You can read it. It's actually like very interesting where most of this information comes from, but we know pretty much exactly for almost every property.
We need to know about rats because we have done all the tests on them.
Yeah, including something as like specific as, I'm going to give these rats 5% fat, 10% fat, 15% fat, 14% fat. These rats only saturated fat. These rats, this fat lipid composition. Like we've done every permutation of that ever. We know exactly what they need. And they're actually like pretty flexible, but we already know. So it's not like a surprise. Like we're going to figure out something new. We got it. Macros. Fat. So it should be around 5%. And there's like curves in the literature where like you can feed them more and they do grow faster, but it sort of drops off. It's not as like precipitous of a growth. So that's why they like target around 5%. So if you wanted to supplement with a 10% fat product like dog food or 20% fat or whatever, like sunflower seeds, it's fine. It's fine. But I wouldn't make that a base diet. Fat can actually be like
harmful in the long
term. When they're older.
Just like with people. So there's a question in the comments from Lorga.
Yeah.
Peter, right?
We'll have to go through the spreadsheet like after we're done, and we'll be like which ones are pretty close and which ones are far, just so it's like a general. But I didn't want to like stay on the spreadsheet for too long because I thought people would run away.
Or Jana would fall asleep.
Yes. So the 6:3 ratio should be 5-1, which is actually like quite different from what it is for people. And that means rats can tolerate a lot more seeds, which makes sense because they were evolved to eat seeds.
To forage.
Yeah. Then they're just naturally high in 6. And so their polyunsaturated to saturation is 2-1. So that could be like a problem in your head if you're like, there's too much animal fat protein in my meal and not enough grain fat, because then the saturated fat ratio could get out of whack. But a little bit sometimes is fine. You know, they do need some saturated fat too.
Yeah. Tradesman Exotic has said that he noticed when there's too much fat that they get greasier coats and they're more musky smelling. And I've noticed that as well. I do ASFs only, but you can overdo it, but their bodies tell you. So if you do see that where they're getting the greasier coats or they're smelling particularly strong, maybe just dial back your fat a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're supplementing with, like, I supplement with sunflower seeds. So I'll just skip it the next week and it usually just self-corrects.
Right. And I think rats are actually like extraordinarily good at picking and choosing what they need. They do get like tricked by like high sugar and high fat, just like people do. But if you are giving them some stuff that's relatively samey tasting, they'll actually pick and choose what they need. Like there have been studies where they have been like, here's pure glucose and here is every nutrient under the sun, including like the like isolated amino acids. And the rats picked exactly which things they needed to eat from like these little drippers of all the vitamins and minerals that ever existed in the world.
That's
because they just like felt the feeling.
They felt the tickle.
Right.
But right thing.
If you gave rats like Doritos and donuts, literally like what people eat that like is like obesogenic, they would get fat too because it's like too much stimuli. So like, you know,
right. It's like designed to be like good. Crack cocaine.
Right. But they're pretty good at guessing what they need. So if you want to give them forage options and stuff, go. I'm just here to encourage you that I think it's fine.
Well, yeah, they're good at knowing what they need, but I have found my ASFs love sunflower seeds. So whenever I give them stuff to forage, they could care less about the cube food, and they're like, "Fuck yeah, bitches!"
Right. It's high.
And they're
fat.
like, "Yum yum yum yum." So if I give it, even if they're looking a little greasy, they're still going to eat that because they're so excited to hunt through their straw and their, you know, wood chips, and I mean they're just so excited about it.
But here's a question though: if you were to give a rat 10% diet to get, or ASF, like too much fat, but you got a final product animal that was at, because they literally grow faster on a higher fat diet, that was, you know, at the right size 5 days earlier, is that a worthy trade-off to you?
Yes. Yes, it is, especially with ASFs because they take longer than rats.
Right.
So a week would be a phenomenal trade-off.
It can be extremely fast, higher fat. So like it does hurt mature rats. 100% high fat, high protein. If you have a pet rat, you 100% want to dial it back because they can get fatty liver. They can get extra tumors, all kinds of stuff. But if your motive is to have production, large litters, lots of babies, and fast growth to mature size, you want to ride the line between long-term health and fast growth. So that's high protein, high fat. But 5% is a good goal in general. But snacks that are over that, that's okay. Because you're riding the line, Jana.
I am riding the line. I'm riding it hard. Yeah.
Oh, God. So carbs. So like the balance of the energy after fat was going to come from carbs. We know that. Rats have the same problem we do, where the only place to break down fructose is in their liver. So they'll get fatty liver disease from excess fructose. And sucrose has a fructose in it. Here's a little picture. Do we remember this?
I just learned all about that in
biology. Yeah, just learned all about it. So that will give them fatty liver disease and like a pretty poor lipid profile if you give them too much fruit too often. They do like it though. And most commercial rat foods use sugar as a like palate, enhancer.
Enticer, yeah.
Dog food does not, though. So who's the winner there? Like the thing that's adding sugar to cover up bad taste, or dog food which doesn't have any sugar in it. And they can do gluconeogenesis, which is creating glucose molecules from protein. But if you put a rat on a keto diet, they will usually stop breeding immediately because their glucose demands are higher than none. Jana, did you know that? They are not the Liver King.
Bree said that her ASFs particularly love romaine lettuce. Mine get romaine lettuce every week, and after they eat the sunflower seeds, then they eat the romaine, then they eat the cubes. And then John Feely said that he has also found that ASFs treat sunflower seeds, rolled oats, I can speak, mealworms, like they're crack. And I've experienced that too. Like they literally, like their whole body wiggles, like they're so excited about it.
Yeah, I don't think people should be shamed for like giving treats to rodents, which I've seen. They're like, if you ever give them anything but lab block, you're a bad person. I'm just like, what?
You're
like,
not
don't
a bad
you want
person.
them to be habituated to people
Right.
and like that people are there, or have some sort of sensory stimulation? Or there's hundreds of reasons, like extra micronutrients.
Yeah, I mean,
it's enrichment and it's good for them. I swear. Look at the data. Like, I don't know why people belittle people for giving them enrichment.
Well, also some people who compost, like my kids love strawberries. And I always cut the tops off the strawberries, and I take those cut tops and toss them in, or my kids do, and they love it. It's like a fun, like, oh, we've eaten dinner, let's go take our tops to the rats, and so it's you can also give them treats, but it's also a good way to like reduce your food waste.
Yeah. And that's free to you rat food.
Or like if your vegetables are a little sad, so like that you don't want to eat them, or your kids won't eat them, but they haven't gone bad, you're just like, that's just a little too sad for me. Like your celery has done this.
Some men's celery does that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about that, guys, but I don't eat celery that does this, and so that celery it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like floppy celery, so I take it out and we divide it up and throw it in the rat bin, and they love it. So you just have to keep that in mind, that enrichment, you don't have to specifically buy fruits and vegetables for your rats. You just have to be conscious and make sure you're checking if it's toxic to a rat, because there are some fruits and vegetables that they shouldn't have. And so just check that out. But you can definitely be using it as reducing your food waste.
It just seems crazy to me that people belittle other people for something that is completely fine. Let's check that
there was
at the old front door.
Yeah, there was a question, but hang on, I lost it.
So protein's also somewhat controversial. This is for rats, not for ASF or mice. The protein requirements for growth and for breeding, so gestation and milk production, are the same. So that's why we feed all of our rats mostly the same thing. But the growth requirements for maintenance are different. So if you have adult pet rats that you want to stay alive for as long as possible, they're gonna be different. Okay.
Can I jump in? 905, she does not practice these words in the mirror. She can say these words in her sleep. She is an educated lady and does not stumble over these words like I do, or maybe you do, but she just knocks them out of the park. It's like in the medical field, when you're in school and you're like, trying to say shit, and then you get out there and you're working, you learn the words and they become second nature.
It's just, you gotta learn them. You'll learn it eventually. And then, so just like plants with like NPK and all the other, minor minerals or whatever, rats and other animals have like they need a certain amount of amino acids in a certain percentages to make proteins. So if you are limiting a particular amino acid, and in this dumb barrel picture, lysine is the limiting, they can't form any more proteins without getting more lysine. So this isn't Jurassic Park, but it could be. But anyway, that's a Jurassic Park joke. There are a lot of I'm going to home brew a meal for rats that I think is good, that on accident are deficient in one or more amino acids at a rate that is not acceptable. So even though the total protein amount is high enough, if you're just feeding them pure grains, you will often have amino acids that are essential that aren't all there. And it's usually lysine, ironically. So I am a little uncomfortable with someone's like, I'm just going to give them whole oats, whole barley, and whole sunflower seeds and never give them anything else. That is not a complete protein make.
No.
So you need to give them something else too. I swear. Okay, so there's 100 papers on this, and I just wanted to do the highlights. They need 1,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. They can make vitamin D from UVB light, just like your reptile or you can. And everyone's like, is this something we're missing? No, to me, no. They don't need to be given UVB lamps because they are actually quite good at absorbing it. And the vitamin D is fine. And they're actually really good for some reason at avoiding rickets. Even in the absence of sufficient vitamin D, they can still absorb calcium and phosphorus at a rate that prevents rickets. So they're really immune to it. But most fortified foods and dog food have a sufficient amount of vitamin D for rats and pig food. So they don't need UVB.
Puget Sound Python said that their rats love hard-boiled eggs. Just a pro tip, ASFs, a lot of people find that they like to eat their first litter. That's usually that they need a boost in protein. So whenever I have a new colony and it's their like first time moms, definitely throw in some boiled egg or scrambled eggs, and extra protein for those mamas that just had their litters, and they'll eat that instead of their babies. And then you're not reinforcing a behavior that you don't want. But there's usually a reason that they're eating their babies. So hard-boiled eggs are an awesome resource for them.
Yeah, I mean an egg makes a chicken, right? So it has all of the amino acids necessary to make chicken. So it's a balanced thing for an animal to eat to turn into animal body. So unfortunately for the vegetarians in the room, sorry guys, rats do like extraordinarily well on animal proteins because the amino acids are balanced. Plant proteins, that you can figure out how to balance it, but it's not already prepackaged in the ratios appropriate for rat body parts. That's why they love eggs. That's why they love gnawing on your extra chicken bones. You can give them meat. You can give them human carcasses, like we already said, to hide the evidence of your misdeeds. So some people want them to be vegetarian diet, but I don't think that's a priority for me. I did in the spreadsheet list like animal meals or not, but I am pro animal meal in rat food.
Pandemic pythons, eggs make chickens? What? I mean, we do our best to bring breaking news every episode. So, you're welcome for that.
And then, so this is a problem that I don't think I have a good solution for. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, by their design, want to become saturated again. So once they become saturated again, they are oxidized and they're actually like unusable. So they have to be sent to the liver and reprocessed and repackaged in a lot of biochemically complicated ways. And they actually they're an oxidative damage inducing food item. But they need a lot of polyunsaturated fatty acids. But we grind them up and put them into a pellet and expose them to oxygen. So different manufacturers will like cover it in acids and do different stuff. And that is probably helpful, but I don't know like how shelf stable the PUFAs are in any product for rats long term.
Poofas.
Hopefully, yes, it does sound like the other word.
Sorry, I'm 12.
So good thing. Vitamin E is like your main antioxidant. It can help with the oxidative products, but it also degrades over time when on a shelf somewhere, especially like a hot truck, a hot warehouse. A, D, and E all oxidize and just get gross. And K.
John
But like,
Kelley had a question. I put it up for you.
Okay, go ahead.
What about the addition of omega-3? I know that kind of falls into the aminos instead, but I've always wondered.
Well, omega-3 is a polyunsaturated fat. So some brands will add like flaxseed for additional omega-3, but actually soybean oil by itself is correctly balanced.
So you're saying we don't have to add anything in, that it's already in the pellets?
I don't know. It depends on the manufacturer's formula. Like if they don't use soybean oil and they use like animal fat and they want to force omega-3s, that could be okay. But those are all polyunsaturated, so they're all able to be oxidized. So how risky is it adding that to your food? And then like if you feed them whole flaxseed that you got by yourself that you keep in your freezer, protecting it from oxidation, that seems to me like a better way to like force the issue, because you know you're feeding something that hasn't gone rancid to your rats. When I get out Missouri or other brands, they change color substantially once the bag is opened. Have you noticed this?
Yes, I have.
How much of that is like the browning effect of like the sugar, and how much of that is
the flax
oxidative damage? Well, Missouri doesn't have flax in it, but the PUFAs that are in it are reacting with oxygen. How good is that? I don't know. That's why saturated fats are fun.
So are you saying that I should
oxidize.
Like roll my bag down like I do my chip bag?
I don't know what I'm saying, Jana, because
I always just leave it wide open.
In the bins, they will like absorb moisture and they will change color. And the longer they sit, the less the rats want them. So you'll see them pick newer stuff of the same brand over the older stuff. I have no idea. Obviously, rats have survived decades, but it's something I think about each day.
What are your thoughts on the feeding them of bugs? I know a lot of people who have lizards and other reptiles that require them to have like a dubia roach colony. They throw those in and the rats freaking go crazy over them.
Most of the food protein sources that wild rodents eat is from insects. Everyone should be like the perfect rodent food would have most of its protein from insect sources, not from plant sources or from like large vertebrate sources. So if you want to give them as their treat, instead of sunflower seeds, just a bunch of dubia roaches and let them hunt them, good. It seems fine. They have chitinase persistence throughout their whole life. They are supposed to do it. It's completely natural and it would be balanced and fine.
Right. So if you do have a dubia colony and it's overpopulated and you need to thin it down, toss those into with your rodents. They'll thank you.
Right. I would just be worried about like pest influences there, but pinworms or something. All right. So K1 and K2, I bring up this one specifically because the form of vitamin K found in all rodent foods and dog foods is the potentially toxic, maybe not kind of K bioavailable complex that is maybe USDA not regulated to be an animal food. So you decide how important that is. We'll get into that later. But K1 is important in blood clotting. So if your dog ate rat food, you would, for most of the varieties, or not rat food, rat poison, the vet would be injecting them with K1 so their blood will actually start to clot. K2 is a byproduct of bacterial synthesis in your gut, my gut, rat's guts, whatever. And that has to do with calcium deposition and like regulating where it goes in bone formation. But rats actually do not absorb any of it from their large intestine. They have to eat their own poop to get that benefit.
Ew.
So it's just like rabbits where they have first poop and second poop. Rats need to eat some of their own poop. So
Thanks for that, Jessica.
I had to add that in there. The microbiome of rats. So we're still like learning about it. So I can't give you any like sweet advice, but different food items obviously control the communities in your rat's butthole. Okay, Jana.
Okay.
In general, though, what we want to do is encourage a diverse community that's making lots of really good, happy poop for the rat to eat. So that would be like targeting fiber of around 6%, maybe a little bit more, and different fiber types. So oligosaccharides, lignans, whatever. So that would be like a food variety question. So feeding just block doesn't necessarily give you the range of fiber options that block plus treats could offer. And then like fats can obviously control community composition. So here's just like, there's a little bit of additive fat, but this is all controlled for calories. We have big changes in community here. Which ones are bad for health? Which ones are good? It's a little bit like wishy-washy at this point. But in general, probably soybean oil is actually better in this case than the more animal-based ones. But then you get better growth because the amino acids are better. So it's sort of like a toss-up. Which one do you want? And then we'll talk about probiotics whenever we get to that spreadsheet.
Bree, you were warned at the beginning of this podcast that it is not safe for work. So just another friendly reminder if you've just tuned in. This is a not safe for work or children podcast.
All right, so this is how we summon a rat. Instead of a Venn diagram, I decided to summon the beast. So we need to balance cost of the food with the availability, because if it's not in your region, you can't buy it. It's not even a choice, right? With macronutrients, micronutrients, and then just reducing harmful items potentially in the food. So that's why, like, if you have strawberry tops and that could provide some micronutrients and it's free to you and they enjoy it, I think you should be blessed to summon more rats with your bounty. If you have an apple tree and you don't spray it for pesticides and you have some spare apples, give them some spare apples. We know fructose is a problem, but this is a treat. Good. You have chickens, way too many eggs, hard boil them MFers. Give it to them. So that's why the dog food dogma that only people who feed pure lab blocks are like winners, and everyone else who even supplements with hog food is like torturing their animals. We summon. That's my opinion anyway. All right, let's look at Missouri 6F's ingredients. And this is like the standard, right? This is the great one. Let's see how great it is. So the black is like something that is actually offering some nutrition. The white is either a preservative or just added
junk.
No, it's vitamins. Like, because most of this has almost no vitamins in it at all. So you have to like balance it out. That's fine. Soybean meal. We all know soy boys. There's a lot of phytoestrogens in soybean meal and alfalfa meal, and it can cause like changes in like time of maturity in rodents.
Dude, bros.
Including making rodents less manly. Do we want that? So this is the premium nutrition full of soy boys. Is it okay? Yeah, maybe, but it has a negative to it. Wheat middlings. Sometimes like people are like, wheat middlings are bad, but wheat middlings are actually like pretty good because it's the germ of the wheat with all the nutrition of the germ and some like the broken off tip. So it's carbs, protein, and some nutrition. Ground corn, there isn't that much in corn. Let's be honest. This is just a calorie source. Wheat's fine. Here's a source of sugar that's just there to cover up alfalfa. So obviously, alfalfa is almost like a filler and just for fiber because they don't have rumens, remember, so they can't, digest all that fiber. And alfalfa has a problem in having saponins in it, so they taste soapy. So they're like using a filler to like give it certain properties and certain amount of fiber. It does come with some protein, but it's all plant protein, so it's like the wrong amino acid mix, and it tastes like shit, so they have to cover it with sugar. Okay, so that's interesting. Soybean meal, and we found out the soybean meal, polyunsaturated, saturated 3:6 ratio is pretty good, so that's okay. Fish meal, it's pretty good. I mean, it might cause older rats to have more cancer, but it's a good animal-based protein. Wheat germ, more protein. It's the outside of the wheat. Fat, that's fine, but I don't know how well balanced, because obviously they don't put like their like nutrition info for, it's just like this descending incidence of the ingredients on the bag. So I have no idea. I don't know if it's balanced with this, but it should be, hopefully. Oats are fine. Oats are like a good source of like molybdenum, which is a relatively rare thing to find in any food. So that's good. Yeast is fine. There's a lot of good protein in yeast. They obviously need salt. More just sources of fiber. So soybean hulls, beet pulp. And this is like a milk byproduct, which is actually usually insulinogenic. So that's good for us because it'll make them want to eat a lot and grow faster. So adding whey or dairy in general, being insulinogenic, makes them grow faster, eat more. What else we got? Here's our vitamin K complex. There's just a lot of debate about like whether it even matters or not, and if it's toxic or not. And since a lot of them are still alive, it's probably not toxic enough to matter. But if you cared enough to matter, you would want to pick one that does not have this additive to it, because it can matter a little bit. And then yucca extract. I think yucca extract works because I've had colonies that were all non-yucca extract animals, and then the same animals with yucca. So it does reduce the smell.
Yeah, yucca does work. I'm pro yucca.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the cattle feed has yucca as well.
Oh, the pig feed.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, pig feed.
Okay. Everybody's new favorite. Oh no.
That's a lot of colors.
The hard part with them is they pool their food sources. So they just say grain products. So I don't know what kind of grain. Plant protein products. I'm assuming that's alfalfa meal and soybean meal, because those are the legumes are obviously nitrogen fixers full of protein, easy protein, cheap. But who knows? It's just vague. Processed grain byproduct. You know what I'm saying? It's so vague. Animal protein products. Okay, great.
We don't know what we use this week. It's fine.
Supposedly it's a stable recipe. Like, because if you're going to like do research, you need stable recipes. On their website, they're like, it's a stable recipe, but we're not going to tell you what's in it. So, legit. They also added sugar. Is it pronounced yucca?
Yoo-hoo.
No, I don't think so.
Yucca is way more fun to say, but I appreciate the correction. If you'd like to say it correctly, it's yucca. Is that how you say it? But yucca is way more fun.
But there's a yucca tree. I always thought it was pronounced after the tree. Whatever. Let's keep going. So they have sugar here to cover up the flavor of, I'm assuming they also used, alfalfa meal too, which is fine, but I'm just saying. And then they do put flaxseed meal. Is this good or bad? Probably good, but is it oxidized? I don't know, Jana. It's probably fine. They still use the same vitamin K source everybody else does. It's in dog food. It's all over the place. But the USDA doesn't want to make a rule about it because it's only technically approved for chickens. We'll see what happens there. They did do diatomaceous earth. So that's good. I did double check, and most papers do not see anti-helminth activity with DE when taken internally unless the dosage is more than 2%.
Okay, can you dumb that down for those of us in the back with the whatever you said after the DE? That real big word.
So a lot of times people give them DE internally to kill worms.
Thank you. Okay.
But most papers do not agree that it kills worms at the doses that most people give it to them in. They need to be eating 2% by volume DE to have any sort of effect like that. But DE is still okay because it's a source of like trace minerals because it's old skeletons of marine creatures. So there's a lot of like selenium and weird cobalt and copper and stuff just in DE. So it's fine. That's probably why they, yeah.
CRM Reptiles has a question.
Yes. Answer is yes.
Adding the yucca, and for those of you who cringe when I say that, the yucca to the water absolutely helps. And if your feed product that you're feeding does not have it, you can absolutely buy just the extract and put. Is it like a few drops in the water?
Do you know? I don't know. I don't know the dosage.
Oh, okay, I don't know the dosage either, but you absolutely can add it yourself and get the same benefit as if it was in your food.
Mm-hmm. And then they go on to add, like, this is actually like a, it's like it keeps stuff from, I don't even know how to talk right now.
I'm sorry. I threw
a lot of these things aren't nutritious, but they have some kind of benefit. Like they are some sort of industrial thing that reduces mycotoxin growth. And mycotoxin is produced by like fungus that gets on grains. And so you're like, that's pretty good. And usually they're not toxic to the animals, so they don't matter. So some of these aren't nutritive, but they have some sort of property to like maintain the quality of the food.
So Bravo Zulu is telling us that the yucca is the root, the yucca is a tree, and that this extract comes from the yucca. But there is such a thing as a
Respect.
yucca.
I always thought it was.
So it is yucca,
like the tree.
And then Andy with Powerhouse, he says he can't catch us alive because he's at work and it's not safe. But he'll catch us later. But thank you for your sponsorship. We did a shout out at the beginning for you, so you can catch it later.
And then Smoky Mountain says a couple of capfuls of ACV in the water supply of a found button could to help production. Currently trying that out for a bit. Yeah, it's obviously different rats eat different amounts in the food, so I don't know what the toxic dose is. It's probably pretty like willy-nilly, but I don't know, so I don't want to pretend I know.
What is ACV? Yucca extract? But what does it stand for?
And then kelp. So that's another like source of micronutrients.
Oh, so apple cider vinegar.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
I don't think that that's the same as what we were trying to say.
Like there's a lot of hippie shit, be honest here, about
whoa,
like, drinking apple cider vinegar
Gloves
to change
are off.
The pH of your body or something. You know what your kidneys do a great job of regulating pH in your body, I swear. But if you drank the apple cider vinegar mother, there's a lot of like trace minerals and stuff from the activity of the yeast. But that's like a different effect. So people are like conflating one property, like the nutritional value of the mother, with other stuff. So I don't know the answer to anything in life, but I'm paranoid of all hippie stuff.
Lindsay said, what do we feed them to eliminate the smell completely or make them smell like flowers? Can we try rose extract? Well, that will probably kill them, but when you figure out how to make them smell like flowers, I'm sure that we will all pay you $1 million for that information.
Mm-hmm. Legit. They also have yucca, so like you're paying for that. Good, right? Legit. And then they have a bunch of cultures of, probiotics. But I did check some of these, and they are ones that are native to rat guts. But they don't give you like number of colony forming units. And live cultures like this are kind of shelf-stable, but are they shelf-stable if the food is stored in the back of a hot truck, in the back of a hot warehouse, in your shed? I don't know if any of this matters, even if it is good, because they might all be dead by the time they get to you anyway. Jana?
That's really sad to me.
So you can think it's cool in your mind, like this is perfect for rats. I'm not, and that's why they don't put like guaranteed 1,000 colony forming units. They don't guarantee shit. They just said they put it in there, and they're like, hopefully it's still alive when they get there. The other thing is the problem with prebiotics in general, or probiotics in general, is just because you eat 10,000 colony forming units, your butthole is full of millions deep butthole.
Millions deep.
Billions.
Oh yeah.
There are more of your little like butthole friends in there than you can eat to make up for it. So like, are you really like shifting the community by
wait? If they're like
units?
second pooping, aren't they getting some of that probiotic back from the butthole?
Yes,
Oh,
from
okay.
themselves.
Second pooping is like free probiotics for your
But
rats.
if you put 1,000 IUs, it doesn't matter. And people take probiotics because they want to shift their communities to something better, more beneficial, less likely to give them butt cancer, like shift away from like bacterioides to firmicutes or whatever. But you shift it by feeding the community what you want, because you probably already have all that in there anyway. Not everybody does. Some people have killed their stuff because they took antibiotics or whatever. But if you want to like have a really awesome rat butthole, feed them lots of fiber of different kinds. That will that's you cherishing your rat's butthole, everybody.
Lindsay, if you missed the second pooping, we had a whole conversation about it, and then someone else was Googling it. So you need to Google it so that HRP can mess up your search engine. But also, you can go
rabbits
back and
have like dedicated first poop and second poop. Rabbits are good. And then,
I just wanted to say real quick, Lori had said that the smell is why she doesn't let Roger keep rats, so they like buy in their rats. That's like one of the main reasons why I only do ASF. And we had ASFs in our living room for the first year that I did ball pythons, and the smell, there was like no smell, and I just cleaned them every week, and they're amazing. It's like complete like night and day from other rodents. And so if they're legal in your state, then you should definitely try out just like a single colony and see what you think. But the smell is not the same as rats and mice. So like the smell of rats is to mice what the smell of ASFs is to rats, like the reduction in smell. Anyway, sorry, Jessica, go ahead.
Wheat, which is weird to say about someone's pee.
Yeah, they do. They have like a little bit of a different smell, but it's not like the gross, overwhelming rodent piss smell. Mm-hmm. Like I would go to Jessica's house and pick up rats in a big tub with an open top, and I would drive the hour and a half home, and the rats in that bin would make my car smell worse than my ASFs after a week in my living room. Like just that 1 hour, like that's the difference in smell. Is that 1 hour of rats is worse than a whole week of ASFs. It's just, they're phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. But rats grow faster, so
yeah,
I'm just saying. Okay, really quickly, they're actually like too complicated. Mice and ASF, it's somewhere between like 15 and 25% protein, 5 and 12% fat, 2 to 5% fiber. It's like all over the place. And then ASFs, if fed 20% protein, will have a sex bias towards male pups. So most people target around 20-ish%. And so you are building on a sex bias. Is that cool? I don't know. Like there's probably a whole 5 more shows about these two because they're extremely weird.
Is that because the ASFs get bigger faster? That male ASFs?
It's probably because they're doing what horses do, where they want to make a sexy buck and they know they can. Like a female is biasing male sperm or male fetuses to have a chance at making a strong colony.
No, I mean, like why would breeders specifically want that?
They wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm just telling you that's what's in the literature.
Oh,
So
okay.
everyone's normal ASF procedure biases the production of male offspring. It just does.
The numbers for me, if the protein's off, if they don't have enough protein, my ASFs will go from having litters of like 16 to 20 down to like 6 or 8 if they're in the like 20 range of protein. And that's how I can always tell, like, if I haven't been feeding them enough protein, then I know that I need to fix it, just because their litters go down a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, and some people apparently, they do just 18% protein. So there are line differences, and it's fine. Bravo Juice says she likes higher male counts because and that makes sense because male ASFs grow faster.
That's what I was asking, like if people were doing that on purpose, because my males they get like twice as big as the females for a couple of weeks. The females catch up, but the males they grow faster.
Yes. I just thought it was very strange that there was I should probably bring up the paper for whenever we do this again, but like a huge difference, like not just like a minor statistical anomaly. But most people need to feed like the same brew, like the same base food item to their rats and their ASFs and their mice, and then do additive. So 20% is like fine for rats, but it might be pushing it. So you almost are forced to be like, I'm going to do a base and then add more to the animals that need it. So like all the people are like, you can't feed anything else to your animals. You're dumb.
For like 6-month period of time, Missouri 23, the rat and mouse, my Tractor Supply was a giant ASS about getting it. Like, they're just not helpful. Like, they will not order me a pallet, even though I'm like, I guarantee I'm going to buy this many a week. Will you help me out? Or will you just buy 4? And they're like, no, we don't do that. So there was a point in time when I just couldn't get it. And so I was having to do like the doggy bag, and I was supplementing with like high protein dog food or cat food. I can't remember what I was using. And then sunflower seeds. But that's when I noticed like a huge change, and they just didn't do as well, but there was like literally nothing I could do. And so I was having to like really play with what I was adding on top of that 18%, because it really isn't enough. And I was really, really excited when Kalmbach went on Chewy for free shipping. I was like, yes, because they just really do better on that 23% if you can get it.
I feed mine 18%. I seem fine, but they get like sprinkled dog food. So,
Lindsay, if you go onto Facebook, there's an ASF breeding group, and they're really good about troubleshooting stuff like that. ASFs can be a little bit challenging because they have really unique like social structures and stuff. If they're bullying your males, they're bored and they need something to do. So the males are just having sex with them too much, and they're pissed off about it because they're pregnant and nursing or whatever they are. So you'd want to like throw in like apple branches or chew blocks, something for them to forage to, like just give them something to do so that the males like lay off. Also, depending on when your colony was put together, at what age the weans were put together, sometimes if the male is put in with the females too late, they won't accept him. And so I like to put my colonies together between 4 and 6 weeks. But I know that people say up to 12 weeks you can put them together, but I have found that I have a lot more fighting if they're that 10 to 12 week range and they haven't been housed together. So join that group on Facebook, or you can message me and I can help you troubleshoot. But you do need to like fiddle with them a bit to get them, especially because they're so dependent on the lines you have.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, my big takeaway is that if you can balance a meal, you can balance it on anything, because all of the rodent foods are just all the cheapest grains plus a mineral and vitamin to balance it out. So I don't think it's a problem if you want to supplement with whatever you want or use pig feed exclusively. If you can balance it and have a line that works with it, it's fine. All right, let's talk about feeder prices. So this is 20-ish years of data, and this is from Big Cheese, because Big Cheese has been around a long time. This is adjusted for inflation. So it's gone up a lot for no reason except for demand in the last 2 years. Like a lot. It was actually like extraordinarily stable. Like if you were buying ball pythons and you wanted to feed them, you were doing pretty good. And 2018 is when they went to like flat rate shipping. So you expect like a little bit of bump there as they're trying to like pad out the cost of, you know,
Shipping.
the subsidized shipping.
Yeah.
But it all went up in 2020. And like since this is inflation adjusted, that's not what happened. So I did check. Here's wheat prices per bushel. There was no bump in like the post 2008 crash in wheat prices or like rise in rat prices. Corn, you know, it doesn't show up. It does go up here. And crude oil. So shipping costs are more, but they don't really match whatever. So if it's just demand, it's just them responding to the fact that we're a lot of specifically people who want medium and small rats. Those are the biggest numbers because the mouse number doesn't go up that much. So there weren't that many people starting to do corn snakes or, you know what is that the way to like suss this out? It's very strange. And obviously the big companies price match each other a little bit to keep things going, and we'll pay for it. But I do think this price increase is driving people away from ball pythons.
Absolutely.
Because if they were historically about $2 for a medium, you can dig it, but now it's almost double the historical price.
Well, and even though this is the online price, some regions are out of fucking control. Like some people are like $8-10 for a freaking medium feeder rat, dead or alive. Like it's insane. And so I understand why they raise the prices, because in certain markets they're still like half of what the cost is, but it just blows my mind the prices that it's pricing people out of the industry, because it's right. A lot.
I don't know what to do, because obviously it's a lot of work making rats. People deserve to be paid for their time, and it's not like labor that you're thanked for. People will be like, I need 200 next week, and then they'll cancel you 200 rats. So you've made the production, you timed out the breeding, you saved them the animals. And so, but they'll go down the street for 20 cents less a rat. So I do think they should get paid, but I think this sort of like separation between the rats that most people need and then like someone and then the price of the animals themselves, it's going to push people into fucking geckos or whatever, just something that doesn't eat rats or maybe corn snakes. I don't know, because their food is cheaper and is staying cheaper. So breed your own buddies.
905 says that a large rat in his area is $15. So yeah, like I'm saying, in some areas, because a lot of rat people got out during COVID, and then a lot of ball python people got in during COVID, and so there was a massive rodent supply, and so people just started jacking up the prices. Like when I got into ASFs, they were like $2 a pop, but I can sell them without anybody batting an eye at reptile shows for $10 each. I could probably sell them at $15 each and people still wouldn't even look at me sideways. Whereas I'm like, I'm not paying $15 a piece. And these, I mean, they're breeders, but it's like, still, I'm like, are you high? Like, what the hell?
I think there's room in the market for a disruptor or whatever. Like if someone was like, I'm just going to make small and medium rats just to target the ball python community or whatever. I'm not going to make mice. I'm not going to make ASFs. And I'm going to try to sell them cheaper than everybody else. People would probably come to you and just buy hundreds of frozen ASFs. So if y'all want a business.
Yeah. It's a dirty job though.
All right. Alternative feeders is a way to combat the rising price of specifically rats. So you could use mice because they're cheaper, but also chickies, We did a whole episode on
Dickies.
chickies, episode 6. Go back and listen to it. No video, just audio. But per gram, a chick is less than half as expensive as an equivalent rat. You have to, and this is like for the small, I did pick like the smallest measurement, but a chick is 3 cents a gram and a weaned rat is 8 cents a gram. And then chicks are sized a little differently. So they have a bigger sternum. So you might want to like sort of size down a touch. Like if somebody's on like large weans or smalls, you'd feed them a day-old chick, basically.
Yeah.
And then mice are cheaper than rats for the same on a per gram basis for sure. So
Yeah,
I will
absolutely.
feed jumbo mice instead of weaned rats all day. It's
all
called
day
half
long.
price sale.
I don't care. Yeah, half price sale. That's what I do. And so a lot of even my grow ups are like, if they're still like under a year or whatever, I'm like, here you go. Here's this half price mouse. Tastes just as good to you. Same gram count. Like, we're good to go.
Quail, I think so tradesman mentions quail. Quail are more expensive online, but cheaper in person. So if you can find somebody near you who breeds quail or has quail eggs, or you want to hatch quail, you can raise quail in really cool battery systems and have the eggs rolled down. You incubate the eggs. They are extremely efficient food conversion machines. They're probably more, their efficiency is probably higher than rats. That's how efficient they are. It's kind of insane. It's because they're not like taking care of their babies. They're just making eggs. Right. So they can make a shit ton of individual units of baby things. You incubate them, then you grow them up to the size you want before processing them humanely and then feeding frozen thawed. Ball pythons, I swear on baby Jesus, love eating birds. Not all of them. Some of them can be weird. And they don't get stuck on birds, but they love the birdies.
I've tried working chicks into my regular feed rotation, and a couple of them have looked at me sideways like, what the fuck is this bitch? So if you're really wanting to switch to using chicks more often and you have one that's looking at you a little weird, you would do the same thing that you do with a baby that wasn't eating, is you would just scent it. So if you're thawing half rats and half chicks, you can rub your chicks on your rats to get them to eat it. But as soon as they
have put them in the rat soup, I know you don't do rat soup, but if you wanted for that moment, then they all sort of taste like whatever.
Right. So, I mean, but it's like, if you scent them, as soon as they get it in their mouth, they're like hella excited about it. So I've never had one take it and then just be like, ugh. Like once they coil it, they're like, fuck yes. It's just some are like, what's happening?
Right, they're just a little confused, but they can learn. Like
I absolutely can.
My 2021 grow up ball pythons, and I just defrosted chicks. I think it was like, what do I have? Like 50 of them. I think I had 3 that like waited for a mouse.
Yeah. My little babies, quail is more expensive than mice. But I had a bunch of quail for my king snakes, but then they went down for the winter and I didn't want to have quail for 3 months. So I was just feeding off the extra quail that I had, and all of my babies took it no problem.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, yes, thank you. Like,
I just think other people think outside the box. Like, it's okay. They're not, people are like so fixated on rat pups. Like, if they don't eat a rat pup, you're somehow torturing the snake.
Not true, guys. Mice are fine.
Mice or whatever, or ASFs.
They're fine.
Super flexible and they'll do whatever. If you teach them to do frozen thaw, they're actually a better pet later on. But chicks are cool because you can go get some chicks for, especially if you live next to like a hatchery, like fryer pan specials, like the males, because all these are males that nobody wants. You can get them for way less than 79 cents. You can get them for 50 cents. You can get them for 25 cents live. You have to go home and process them, or you can grow them up a little bit. You can make small rat size. You can make medium rat size. You can make large rat size. And it's extremely fast and an extremely efficient feed conversion. Because they're just eating. They're not like taking care of something else. They're not competing. Birds are extremely fast, and they're in the fast point of like the feed conversion. So they grow very quickly. Like you can make a medium rat equivalent chick in a couple of weeks. Like how much long does it take you to make like a medium rat equivalent ASF? 100 years.
100 years. Didn't, when you lived on your farm, you just constantly had like a trough thing of chicks matriculating, just always.
Yeah, boas. They need chicks. Their little bodies are not good with all the high-fat jumbo rat lifestyle.
Yeah, my kids still ask, Mommy, can we go to Miss Jessica's and play with the little chicks?
And those were eggs from my chickens that I incubated. So I didn't have to buy them. I was breeding them. I was eating the eggs. If I had too many eggs, didn't feel like incubating them, feed them to the rats. So like all these systems played together because it's a farm, Jana.
Yeah, so it all works together.
And I was subsidizing all of these other animals with much less expensive to produce rats and much less labor intensive, because usually you set up your brooder and you're like, maybe a couple weeks later you clean it when you convert everybody to frozen at that point, but you don't, there's none of that like daily maintenance. They don't fight. They don't need to be maternally separated. There's no colonies. They're all just growing up in a big brooder being happy little babies.
Happy little babies. I got some food. I got some water. It's so nap in the sun.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, if you have hatcheries, hit them up. Especially like when they
also like, don't try to like chew out.
Right. I mean, they're not like perfect animals. They have feathers, so the stool composition is different. Their sternum is big, so a between size snake kind of can't handle it. Sometimes the head's like too floppy and they can't figure out where the head starts. So they're just sort of the snake might be dumb and just gnaw on it. But just size down until they figure it out, then size back up. Oh my God. I love button quail. Oops.
They are.
I turned it down. They're like kind of expensive pets. So like if you wanted to sell them as a pet,
right,
you know, to your reptile clients.
Yes, to sell off, or you could sell breeder colonies.
Yeah.
There's just like lots of things you could do to supplement what you're doing. There's just lots of good ideas here, and we don't have to think just rats. And I noticed once I started incorporating chicks that my ball pythons look healthier. And it's not something that I can like super quantify. It's just like, you know, when you look at your ball python, like it's a little bit extra glowy. It's just they like the variety. And so if it's saving you money and it's helping your ball python, mix it up, people. Especially in the springtime where the day-old chick price goes way down.
Or if you live next to
it, you'll go hit them up. And if you process rodents already, it shouldn't be that big of a deal for you to process chicks.
They process the same. They actually process faster because they're more sensitive to CO2.
Correct. Yeah. And then you just toss them in your freezer, just like you would your rodents. It's just got to think outside the box here, people. I mean, 25 cents each. What medium, small, weaned thing can you get for 25 cents? Nothing. Nowhere. Like
and if you don't buy them to feed your snakes, guess what they get done? They get macerated and just sprayed on a field as fertilizer. So you're doing a service to the chickie's life. You're making it worth it that he was born and happened to be born male. Okay.
Yeah, your
Bless their little hearts.
CO2 chamber is the same, but they will pass away quicker than your rodents.
So quick. William says, this is why I cycle feed all my steaks, and I plan on breeding them. I feed more, and if not, I feed less. And even the ones I breed, I don't really feed them near as much as most. Yeah, so that can like cut prices. So if you know you're not going to breed them, a ball python or whatever, you don't have to feed them as much. But I'm saying we could use alternative feeders to like manage the cost of feeding the collection
without any negative effects. It's actually like a positive, I think.
All right. And if you need pictures as evidence that ball pythons eat chicks, I got pictures. Yeah. I mean, y'all, I'm sure you know like ball pythons and berms and stuff eat chicks, but ball pythons are all about it.
And like I said, if you bring them out and your ball pythons are just like, what are you doing? Just rub them on a rat, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll eat that.
Yeah, and maybe like, you know, you can defrost in phases, like defrost 5, and then feed, see if one member of each feed group will take it, and then if not, feed them rats or whatever. All right, now we're going to talk about disease. It's so fun. We made it. Jana, this is all the things you can get from rats. You as a person.
Oh my
rats
gosh.
Or mice or ASF. So all of these are from the rats directly, and all of these are from the mites or lice on the rats biting you. There's some real MVPs, some classics like the plague, you know.
The bubonic plague, people.
And the plague is endemic in the US, by the way, too. So a wild rat with the plague could get into your shed and give your rats the plague, or lice that have the plague in it. So keep your biosecurity top, because the last time we had a plague that was like good, it was bad, you know, level bad. Okay, the other thing that sort of like stands out to me is rat bite fever. It's caused by a bacteria. There was a kid who died a couple years ago from a Petco rat when it contracted the disease from the rat from Petco. The father sued Petco because he bought the rat under the expectation that it would not come with deadly infectious diseases. Joke's on him, though, because he lost. Because Petco argued that no one can know if their rat is full of deadly infectious diseases at a suitable rate for it to make sense financially. And so they actually lost. Don't lick your rats, I guess is the key word there, and keep wild rats away from your rats in terms of like your interaction, because even if they did not have the plague, they could get the plague from the wild. Some of these, though, aren't native to the US in the wild, nor are they native to like captive colonies. So not all of these will get you, but a good number. So that's fun. Let's sleep good tonight. Okay, we're not going to go through all these because it's way too much. This is like another podcast. I shouldn't have even added this. But these are the diseases that you can get in your rat, not the diseases that the rat can give you. Does that make sense? So all kinds of respiratory viruses and bacteria. Streptococcus is our streptococcus. You could cough on your rat and give it strep. Did you know? Fun fact of the day. This is Sendai virus, which was discovered in Japan, but they renamed it murine respirovirus.
Settle down out there, 905. Jessica is the teacher.
Okay.
And she will send you to the principal's office.
Oh my God, we have so many of these. Digestive system, we have more viruses, more bacteria. Obviously, viruses. Some of these are self-limiting, so they'll sort of run their course in 10 days, and then the rat will be like, "Oh, I'm better now," and their immune system kicks in. Some of these are permanent. Some of these can be asymptomatically kept forever, and some of these are so rare in rat colonies that they don't matter. But some of them aren't. So there's almost like too many. But I'm just saying it's all over the place. For internal parasites, pinworms, this is a fun fact. Their eggs are so light that they can be aerosolized. So if one colony has pinworms in it, the poop dust can float up and infect other ones. And you can also get these worms.
I knew that was coming. Damn it. I'm going to go deworm all my rats again.
Yeah, and salmonella is obviously bad for the rat, but it can kill your snakes and does semi-regularly when salmonella gets into rat colonies. So some of the bigger producers like have an active testing protocol to make sure they don't poison like a person who touches a rat and eats a Dorito, or the snake itself or whatever. Don't eat Doritos while defrosting the rodents, please.
Just don't eat while you're defrosting or cleaning.
So obviously they can have diseases of the skin. The ones that are like the most obnoxious and obvious are mite and lice, and these can come from bad biosecurity or whatever, but they can also come from wild rodents like scampering through your shed if you have a shed outside or whatever, or they're on your shoes or in your house or whatever. So like sometimes it's not your fault. It just accumulates and happens, and you should try to prevent it, but then also treat it. The mite infestation, when it gets in the ears, you can always tell like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, because they'll like list rodents for sale and they'll have these like crunchy diseased ears. That's mites burrowing in and like changing the tissue of the ear. Don't buy those. It's an easy win to not buy it. Easy win. But you can treat rats with Revolution topically, like the one for kittens, but a snake can't eat that. So you'd have to wait until it's totally gone from them, which is at least a month. Or you can treat it with ivermectin orally, which technically a snake can eat it, but it's the toxic dose and the effective dose on a snake is really close. So I would probably be paranoid and have a withholding time of at least 2 weeks, probably more like a month. It's gross, by the way. Oops, we missed one. This is kind of boring. This has been going on long enough. Even more viruses. Oh, even more.
Are we going to talk about
even more.
biosecurity too?
Yes.
There it is. There it is. That's what we care about.
Yeah. So it's because there's a lot and they're all different. It's hard for me to give you like one thing, but since it could be fecal, oral, salivary, dander, coughing, aerosolized, not aerosolized. There's a lot. So you're preventing a lot. So it's just like you need to do all the things. Some infections are self-limiting, some aren't. Some can be treated, like bacterial infections could get antibiotics. Viruses can't. So you're just sort of mitigating for a lot. Please do that. So for biosecurity, the take-home messages, I would just make a colony and stick with it. I wouldn't bring out outside blood. If you want to know the right way to do that, it would probably be like buy a pair or like 2 females from someone, keep them in quarantine for months. They have asymptomatic carriers for viruses just like everything else does. And then maybe like take a buck from your colony, give it to that colony, breed them, and then take the babies back to your colony. And then obviously you want to keep outside rats off. We talked about that, but that one is like the most obvious vector for the plague, literally the plague.
Right. So you may think that you're being like nice if someone like you have a great system set up for CO2 euthanasia and people are all around you are like, oh, can I bring my rodents in and use your CO2 container? You're putting your colony at risk. You're putting your production at risk. Like it seems mean because we're a community that likes to help each other, but for biosecurity reasons, you got to protect your rodents because that's how your snakes survive. And so you have to be just a little bit cold about that kind of stuff. Don't let outside rodents come in. If you are trying to infuse new bloodlines, like Jessica said, you need to have a separate area and then you bring the babies over into yours.
And that could still be wrong because there's vertical transmission for some of these, but like I would slow it down to at least like clear. And there aren't tests for a lot of these. There are for some of them, but like slow it down so that you are like, okay, these ones are kind of unthrifty, right? Which you're like, that would be a cull criteria because there's probably something internally going on. Call that, try again with your new bloodline remix. But if you have good stock and they're doing okay, protect them from other people. Protect them from their shoes. Protect them from their, walking through. If they have rodents too, their being has lice on it. Shows have lice on it. If you take rodents to shows, they need to be quarantined when they come back if you're selling lives.
Oh, that's good advice. I've never brought any home because they always sell out, but that's not something I thought about.
Yeah, I assume people do because they take those little lab containers with them normally because it's like travelable, but still allows them to have food and water. Just take that little lab container and don't put them back in your room because people can have rodent lice on them or whatever else. So you just got to take care of them. And then I recommend treating for worms prophylactically. You don't necessarily need to treat for mites prophylactically if you know your colony is mite-free, but you can. And then you just have to have like enough animals that you can supply your customers and feed without feeding, high leviathan, feeding stuff that would hurt your snakes. If you put frontline topically on rodents, which you can, it will hurt your snakes if they eat it. So don't do that. Just wait until it's passed off of them. The major lab producers do test their rats for salmonella, and maybe they should test it for rat bite fever. I don't know. But you don't have to. I'm not your mother. But if they seem bad or you're making your snakes sick, you might want to figure out why. Or just call the colony and start again. Because there's a difference between snakes and rats, right? Like the snakes are individually more valuable. So they can have a little bit more attention. your rat colony is extremely important, but each individual animal, if it seems sort of off or wanky, it can go in the freezer, you know? Some of these diseases and infectious agents die in freezers and some don't. So we probably need a whole episode about like which ones die in the freezer.
Yeah, we probably should do a whole episode for biosecurity reasons, just because this has been happening right now. It's relevant in the industry right now. There's somebody who's going through a big.
He's in the chat.
Oh, he is in the chat. Hi, yeah,
he was in the chat.
He is going through this right now, and it's just not something. I know it's not something I've thought about, even though I'm a big biosecurity advocate. I don't ever think about it with my rodents. I only think about it with my snakes. And so it's just like a reminder when something like that happens. Not that they like, oh, they were neglectful or they did something wrong. It's just a reminder that we need to be thinking biosecurity with our rodents as well, because, you know, they can get very sick and those sicknesses can pass to you. Those sicknesses can pass to your snakes. And so it's just something that you should be aware of. And, you know, maybe we'll do a whole episode on it and put it in more like bite-sized pieces so it's not so overwhelming. But we just thought we'd touch on it. It is very overwhelming. It was
overwhelming for me, and I was reading it. And I was like, there are so many. It is because we know rats and mice really well. We know them almost too well. So like, I don't know. There needs to be like a synthesis of like what are the most important top 5 that are still in America.
Absolutely.
Because we've actually like eliminated a bunch of these, and some of them are just like a weird infection that only happens in hairless rats, because hairless rats have a compromised immune system. Would never keep them because it turns out they're not actually that good at being alive. That's the end, by the way. If anybody has any questions, we can move on to news or whatever. You know, the news. Is there any questions? Everyone's asleep probably because it's been fucking an hour.
There's still 52 people here.
Holy mackerel. Here, let's show this real quick. It's not going to look that nice, but I'm doing it because I said I did it. Okay, so here's all the rodent food. Sorted by... this is just sort of rodent food up top, some of the dog food, pig food, cattle cubes, and then just whole grains of different kinds. I just... You know,
sexy spreadsheets linked below, guys. If that's your,
like, you can barely tell what's happening. I guess my point is like avoid medicated pig feed because it has backcitration in it, and that is nephrotoxic. So that's pretty bad in rats. I actually looked up if there was any evidence of Red 40 actually hurting rats, and it's sort of like it's not there. It only hurts them at non-physiologically like normal amounts for like intake. They would have to eat thousands of times the amount that they could eat in a dog food to be hurt. And there's zero evidence for hurting snakes. So I'm not advocating for eating or feeding rats dog food with dyes in it. It's just, there's no evidence that it's actually that bad. But I would still choose not to, because why bother when there are alternatives that don't have it? In general, dog food and Becca Savage's product, which is Advantage Health Feed, and one of the Invigo Teclins are extruded instead of pelleted. The difference between a pelleted product and extruded product is that a pelleted product is like steamed and then like pushed into like this pellet maker that like knocks them off. Extruded, they actually like put it into a steam thing that's like a pressure cooker. So there is more bioavailability in extruded products than pelleted products in terms of like whether the phytic acid has been broken down, whether all the complex starches have been broken down. And there's also more resistant starch.
Extruded is good.
Yes, but all of the number one rodent brands are not extruded. So like,
so give us the names of those again that are extruded so that people who got lost in all the big
Teclin
words.
Global 2020X brand. Teclins are all really expensive, so you decide if that's worth it. The Advantage Health Feed, which
is that new one that was on bullshit? Did you get information on that yet?
Yes,
on prices and stuff.
It's on here.
Okay, well,
but that's a regional Florida variety.
Okay,
so
if you're in the South,
I asked her to send me some, and she's like, I don't know. I think we have to like meet at a show basically to make it make sense. Otherwise, you have to ship it like ground or whatever, and or freight for 2 bags to try. I was like, doesn't make sense. So just I'll find you at the Daytona or something. I'll find you. So extruded.
I'll find you.
Good. And all dog food is extruded, so maybe that's why they like dog food a lot, and they do really well on it, even though the profiles are different. Shane's here.
Shane's
it's because
here.
Dog food is extruded, so it's highly digestible. In general, I would pick 1866 on average. There are pig feed that's like close, but not quite. And there's some pig feed that's perfect.
Okay, say the good pig feed again.
Usually the Komblotch pick of the litter starter pig feed is 21.65. So that'd be good for mice or whatever. And then there are sort of show pig feed that have an appropriate fat. They'll be like 18.65. So like the Neutrina Show Edge is a good choice. If you're worried about your rats becoming soy boys, I did say which ones had soy meal and which ones did not. If you're worried about yucca, I did say which ones had yucca or not.
So check it out if spreadsheets are your jam.
And some of these are available cheaper than the prices listed here at your local feed store because they're closer to the mill, or they can buy a pallet.
But we did mostly like online prices because we're, a worldwide podcast. So you don't all care about what the Pacific Northwest prices are.
Right.
Because that's not relevant. Whew, we did it. And 52 people stuck it out.
Good I know. You. Bless your hearts. How boring was that shit?
Boring, but
yeah, it ended up like getting too big. So like, but it's okay. So if someone wants like a generic rodent overview, we did it. This was the State of the Union for feeders. But one day, if people are interested, we'll do like just ASFs and how weird they are.
Shane, we did a big conversation about soy at the beginning. The soy oil is good, but the soy meal makes soy boys, right? That was my understanding, or is that completely incorrect? I'm getting the fuck you face.
It's hard to be like everything is bad about it because there's something bad about everything. Soy meal has enough phytoestrogens that there's probably an effect, but it also probably doesn't matter because they're dead by the time we do something. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's like a neutral ingredient to me. But if you care about soy boys, the soy boy lifestyle, then you would maybe not want to include that.
Are piglets small enough for a ball python?
Maybe like micro piglets.
Yeah, I think
I would feed fetal pigs to whatever, but they're usually just fat, like really fat. So
like boas can eat fetal pigs, no problem, right?
Well, you got to think of like fetal pigs of micro pigs or fetal pigs of like potbelly pigs. They would be like the size of like a
medium large,
a baby bunny or something.
Yeah, okay. But those big ass ones you see at the state fair, I think those are too big.
Yeah. Okay. What are we doing now? I think we're doing your movie. Can we talk about
movie madness? We missed it last week, guys. But I had done my job. We just forgot to talk about it. It was even in the notes.
Oh yeah. I had to make it weird.
She always makes it weird.
Jana, what movies did you watch?
Okay, so Conan the Barbarian was the picked movie. Shane had tossed out Conan, and I forget the other one. Oh well. And Conan won when I put the poll in my stories, which I do on Mondays, guys. I did not post it to my regular page, but this week I will because there was people that were like, "We didn't see movie."
Yeah, madness. I didn't see it either, and I
Jessica's like, "Wait, what?" So I will post it in my regular feed and in the stories as well, so you guys can vote. And I'll tag Jessica this time. Sorry, but on Mondays I post that. So Conan won, and I tried to watch it, guys. I promise. I made it like an hour and a half. It was like a 3-hour movie or something ridiculous, and I made it like an hour and a half. And I wanted to stab my eyes out. There was literally like,
I can't believe this.
5 lines of dialogue, and then he's like non-English speaking. So like when he falls down, he's like, "Oi, oi, oi!" It was so fucking weird, and I was
why didn't you like that though? Because
the whole time, and it was just bad. So about halfway through, guys, I tapped out, and I don't think that's ever happened to me in a movie. Like normally, I have to watch to
You
the
didn't get
end.
the snake scene?
There was like a sex scene or
Snake scene.
Steak. I don't know. I remember I wanted to die, so I tapped out.
Jana. She gave up.
But I was like, I can't give up because it's my homework.
Did you watch Red Sonja?
No.
No.
So then, because I was just like, this is just going to be a repeat of what I just went through, and I cannot. So then I went and watched Terminator 2, and it was fucking amazing.
Did you watch Terminator 1 ever?
No. But I was
Who told you to watch Terminator 2 first?
I was with a friend, and they just explained it to me. Plus, there's like a little like summary at the beginning of the movie. It was fine. I did not need to watch the first one, and the second one was bad.
I know you don't need to, but it's got the best girl on top sex scene maybe ever. Let's be honest.
Okay, well maybe I'll go back and catch that. But it's
really the actor who I remember now that plays Hicks. So he's like a cutie patootie, right? And then you're like, oh, he's coming from the future, Kyle Reese, and he's hot. And she's like, and they, like, I don't want to pay you, but I kind of do. And then they make John Connor. Yeah. It's actually like romantic in a weird Stockholm syndrome kind of way.
Yeah, totally.
It's for girls. That movie's for girls. Terminator 2, maybe also for girls. I'm not sure, but I feel like Terminator 1 is like a more classic. I thought to me that one would appeal to you more.
I liked 2. It was amazing. It fixed my day because the other one, like,
I think Shane's going to sponsor.
And then no, I did not watch Beastmasters. I'm telling you guys, Conan almost ruined movies for me. I was almost like, this new spot on our show is just dead to me because don't put me through that ever again.
Sometimes you gotta watch movies that aren't just like raw, like popcorn entertainment. They just have something else interesting about them.
It's got to be illegal. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back and catch it, guys. I also heard I shouldn't watch 3 that like doesn't actually exist because it's not good, but 2 was amazing. I'll go back and watch 1, but it saved the day.
Right now there's like multiple 3s because they've done like timeline resets and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, like it just gets complicated. So I would one is like a nice 80s linear action thriller. 2 is obviously James Cameron doing his thing, making stuff bigger and better off of like an original piece. But I like 1 a lot. Kyle Reese. I've only had a couple fetishes, and that's
I've actually seen Big Trouble in Little China. That was one of my older sister's favorites, so I've seen that one a couple of times actually.
Have you seen RoboCop or the Thing?
I don't think The Thing, but I've seen RoboCop.
Okay, what about The Thing versus Starship Troopers?
Okay, we can make that happen.
Okay.
Well, no, either.
I don't
know what I'm committing to.
I don't know. Like, do you want like people need to watch a bunch of the Carpenter films, and people need to watch Paul Verhoeven films. So like, you could do like just Paul Verhoeven battle, or
Romancing the Stone was one of my favorites as a teenager. Oops.
What do you mean The Thing sucks?
Nerd factor.
I like The Thing. The original, or not the original, the second Thing. There's been multiple remakes at this point.
I don't think I've seen Starship Troopers. I don't know. Sorry, guys.
Service guarantees citizenship. Would you like to know more? It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, okay.
A bad person.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Jana's head.
Fascism is fun for the whole family.
Yeah, so
I was kidding.
Talk amongst ourselves and figure out a versus. I will post it in my regular feed and in my stories so that people don't.
So your review is just that you turned it off?
My review is that it was the worst movie I've ever seen in my whole life, and it had 5 sentences of dialogue in 2 hours. And it was just like terrible. Okay. And I was even like on a date watching it, and it was like still like the most terrible thing ever. So we turned it off and turned on Terminator 2.
Harsh review. What out of 10? How many ball pythons out of 10?
-5.
Whoa.
Like, I'm now telling you, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay, let's talk about like what are your tastes in movies? Because maybe this is the problem. We're giving you like all of the movies that have ever existed, but we should probably give you the ones that are already within your taste wheelhouse that are also good. That you just haven't.
I don't think it has to be in my taste. I think that's the whole point, is that it's like broadening the palette of. I was very sheltered and have a very limited exposure, and so the point is to expose me to all kinds. And apparently I don't like anime, and apparently I didn't like Conan the Barbarian. So I mean, it's okay. We, different strokes for different folks. And I am coming at it from, like 30 years in the future. So it's not the same thing as if I had watched it as a kid.
I watch anime now.
Which I did remember. I had thought that I had seen parts of Terminator. I didn't know the whole storyline, but I had remembered that like part of his face like comes off. Mm-hmm. And so as a kid, like my siblings were allowed to watch it, my older siblings. But the like younger group of kids, because there were groups of kids in my family, weren't. But I remember like sneaking in and watching from like the doorway, and like half his face fell off, and then I was like, I can't watch this, because I was little, like 5, and so like the whole movie I was like, I swear I've seen a part of this, and then finally towards the end, then half his face fell off, and I'm like, see, that's the part I saw. Mm-hmm. So anyway, beating a dead horse. It's okay if I don't like it. Like that's.
I need you to like anime, or I'll have to let you go.
Well, then you're gonna pick something that's like not so
awesome or interesting.
Yeah.
Or for adults. I don't.
Is there like Final Fantasy movies? Because I played that game growing up.
Yeah, but they suck. PlayStation.
Most of them. They suck. Okay.
I think if I got you like a shoujo romance that was like sweet, would you like that? Where they're like barely kissing and holding hands and they like giggle? Or is that not good?
I would hate that. Ew.
But if it's about their feelings.
I don't mind feelings. I just didn't like Princess Mononoke.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't like Princess Mononoke, I'm not sure you have taste, is what I'm getting at. So I'm like struggling to teach you how to have taste.
I just don't have the same taste as you, and that's okay.
I literally don't know anyone who's ever watched it, but like, I hate that fucking shit. Write in now. Who hates Princess Mononoke? Because you're banned. Banned. I'm kidding. Yeah,
I didn't hate Princess Mononoke. I just didn't love it. So it was like a 5 for me. Whereas like Terminator was like a 9.
Mm-hmm, but it's for white people.
Mm-hmm. Are you calling me racist right now?
No, I'm just saying it's for white people. Maybe it was designed for you, and it's like touching your tingly bits in the right way.
I don't know. I mean, what's her Sarah? She was woo.
She was touching your tingly bits in the right way.
Well, she's hot. Mm.
I don't know what we should send. I just don't know what to send you, because like all right, we'll decide. You'll decide, or whatever. Just get the sponsors to like pick something. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. All right, let's do news. I'm feeling old and geriatric at this moment. I think. Do we have news? It's been going on for a while, but Adam is doing a weird thing in the still that I accidentally picked. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, poor Adam. There we go.
Wait, that's better. Okay.
It's like his poop face. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm sorry.
My God. Yeah.
We're out of control now.
Right. So we were shouted out very nicely, thank you, Adam, in a video about buying snake collections and how this is time to do it and how it might be useful or whatever. And he's like, go over here for some biosecurity tips for buying a collection. So Jana, would you like to actually like answer the question? What would you do if you were going to buy a ball python collection in 2023?
Well, could you make us big? And
yes, I just wanted to keep
Shane on wanted his to see face. Our sponsor lineup. Yeah, we don't need his poop face. It's fine. We can't do questions all on our own.
He has a nice poop face, though. You don't know. All right, I'll look for a good face. You talk.
So if I was gonna do a collection buy today, I would do it the same way that I did my very last collection buy. I think I had 30 adults and like 45 babies that I purchased. and they came with the racks. They were homemade racks, so they're not in use right now, but I have them as backups just in case. And they went into my sunroom where nothing else was. So they came in, I categorized everybody. I made sure they all had clean water, clean bedding, took pictures of everything so that I had a record of who was who. Did my own labeling system because that's how I keep track. And then everything went out there, and they had their own cleaning equipment. They had their own feeding equipment. They had their own feeding day. And then when it was like the next Monday after I got them, then I swabbed all the adults and sent them out. And I think I swabbed like 2 or 3 of the babies just for funsies, just like randomly. And so like everything came with its own racks. The babies were in like stackable, help me out, stackable bins. So I just left them in that. But once they were through a quarantine period, the babies all came back negative, and they moved with my show fodder, because I keep that separate from the rest of my collection. But the main adult collection, I did a round of testing. There were a few positives. Those were immediately pulled out and euthanized. And then anyone that was in that breed group with the positives got additional testing, just to be sure. So, and then after I think like 4-ish, maybe 5 months, because they were out there and they were like totally contained. I was selling the extras at shows or online at that point. And then I was like, oh, it's been like a long time and they've had multiple negatives. Like it's probably okay if I bring them in. And they never had mites and they never showed any signs of sickness. And then I had, Boyd panels and negative nidos on them all. And so that at that point, I brought them into the rest of my collection, and now they're mixed in and fine. And so I would do that again.
Can I ask you a question? What percentage of nido positives came from this collection that was otherwise pretty good looking?
Pretty decent looking, yeah. I think there was 30 adults, and I want to say 4 were nido positive, and then there was 4 more that were in the same breeding groups as those 4 female positives. And so those ones, I think, got a total of 3 tests. The ones that were in the group that tested negative first. I think I did a test again at like 3 months, and then another test at like 5 months before I felt comfortable putting them in my collection.
And their statuses were the same.
They were negative all throughout. Yeah. And I never had one that changed to positive. And so, and I mean, I didn't get like a ton of history. I just knew who had been bred by the same male. And when I had positives come up, I double checked that they had been in the same breeding group. But I didn't have any of the males from the breeding groups, like he'd already
sold them to
he'd
other
already
people.
sold half of his collection already, and so I was just getting the other half of what was left. And so yeah, it was totally fine. I felt really comfortable. I mean, when I first did it, it felt pretty ballsy. Jessica was calling me Big Ovary Jana for a while, and we called it balls deep because I was just like, at that point, I knew about biosecurity. I knew about testing. I'd had my own nido experience. And so it was like a huge risk financially because they weren't offering a nido guarantee at all.
Because it could have been all of them. Everybody.
No deposit, no return. It could have been all of them.
It could have been none of them, but it was some of them. So to me, like the answer is like, it's okay to buy a collection, but you have to test because the eyeball, like it looks kind of good. That like,
it meant nothing at all.
Meant and shit.
They were all well fed. They were all healthy. They all acted like ball pythons. They were all in clean tubs. Like everything was on point. And he had never had respiratory infections. Like everything appeared perfect. But knowing about it, I told him I'm going to test everything, but I understand that I'm taking the risk on. But I also paid for like 50 snakes. I paid the same price at the time of 1 adult clown female, and there was 2 adult clown females. And so
yeah, I mean, even with testing, it can work out.
It could work out, even if one of
on it,
right, even if one of the clown females was positive for nido, like I was still in a positive, even including testing. And so,
right, that's the whole point, though. It's like, you need to use the testing to be sure that you're putting your good name out there instead of a bad name out there.
Right.
But
well, and then also
it's still economical with testing included because of these the inherent nature of the deal. And
Correct.
usually get like caging and stuff with it, so then you can have like an isolated separate unit. You don't want to
mine were
mix.
like completely like my sunroom is separate from my house, and like I said, they had their own day, and I would go out there and I would feed and clean and water, and then I would come in and shower.
What a burn. Someone tried to sell me their collection a while back, kind of cheap. I asked for testing and they blocked me.
Sometimes it happens. It happens. I asked for testing and they were like, you buy it. Like everybody, you can come and look at it. You can come do whatever you need to do, but you need to buy it. And then it's on you because the price was so ridiculous.
Right. It needs to be like 20, 30 cents on the dollar for it to make sense without a testing guarantee to me.
Because they were moving out of state and they were getting out of the game completely. Like it was like a really fucking good deal that I was willing to risk it. But not risk my collection, but risk that the whole collection could be needing to be put down. And it didn't turn out that way. I also kept all the ones that were listed with hets, and like 4 of the 6 did not prove out. And so like that's another risk that you're taking. Now there's genetic testing, so you could check that out. And like even though they're normals, I'm still ahead. So I mean, you just have to think about that and like think about if these turn out to be fake heads, like don't sell those. I didn't sell any of those because I didn't have evidence or proofs that that's what they were. And I'm really glad that I did it because some of them turned out not to be heads. But I'm still like super happy with how it all turned out, and I don't regret it at all.
But I just think people shouldn't be so excited about it if your situation can't handle it.
Right.
Like
if you're going to bring them into the same room as yours,
separate building.
Like 4 or 5 out of 30 were positive, guys. All the babies were fine, but that's a lot. I mean, we don't even know what percentage is that, Jessica? Can you do the math for me? No, I can't do the math either. But
I'll
like
do it on a calculator.
Times 3, that's like 15-ish%, like a little more than 15% was positive. And this, like I said, completely healthy, no respiratory infections, nothing. And so NIDO is real. Be considerate of that. Don't bring in a whole collection and just shove it in your ARS next to your others. Like that's not a good idea. And then also, if you do buy a collection and you have it somewhere else, be smart and don't interact with your other snakes and reptiles on the same day that you interact with this collection that you haven't cleared yet. That's the same as you would do with any quarantine. They should have their own day, their own feed. Like if one of them didn't eat it, you don't go and offer it to one in your reptile room. That's like not the point of quarantine. And so like even until I got the results back, which I got them fairly quickly, but I fed once. Which I probably now I wouldn't even feed because it's like a week. But at the time I fed, but I treated each one as an island because I didn't know their status. And so if somebody
you don't want to be the person to spread it in your collection before you even figure it out.
Because if you already have tests out and then you start spreading it, then your tests are useless no matter what they say because you contaminated everyone. And so if someone didn't eat it, that I just threw that away. And then the ones that were in the like maybe I had been exposed category, maybe I'd been exposed. I didn't even know because I didn't know when these other ones got it, or like if it was the male that spread it or if the male even had it. Like I didn't have enough information. But the ones that were in the same breeding group, they got treated like islands, not even an island together, like their own individual island. And so they had like their own shelf with no other snakes next to them. Like I just treated them differently. And so that's just stuff you have to be aware of. It can be a huge, huge reward, but it's a huge risk as well. And you just have to be really careful and really smart. And like I said, I would absolutely do it again if I had the time and resources and like emotional labor in my brain to do it. The only reason that I am not doing that right now when there's so many good opportunities to buy high-end stuff, at 30 cents on the dollar, is that I just don't have the time. And it takes a lot of extra time, especially if you're planning on I only kept 10 of those snakes. I only have 10 of those snakes
it's a big time
today
to like turn over a $300, whatever.
At the time, it was not a big deal to turn over that many snakes. Right now, it would be really hard to turn those over. So you don't know how long you'd be holding on to those because everybody's selling. So they're easily obtainable. Whereas when I did that, people were still trying really hard to get adult females. And so they went, as soon as I cleared them from quarantine, they went same day on Morph Market, or if I took them to the show, I sold out. Like, it was that crazy of a time. And so you have to also think about that, like where we are in the market. Are you able to feed these things until the market stabilizes? Are you able to have them separate from your collection until they can be cleared? You know, like, you have to think about all the steps that are involved. And with the market the way it is right now, I don't need that many extra mouths to feed. I don't need that many snakes to clean. And the turnaround is not fast. And so I just don't have the capacity to do it right now. But I'm not saying don't. Just think about all the steps that are involved and make a decision for yourself of whether you want to take that on. But I absolutely benefited from that. And like I said, I only have like 10 snakes out, and there was 60 total. I only have 10 snakes left. And 6 of them I kept because I wanted to prove out their heads, and only 2 proved out and 4 didn't. So 4 are definitely going to go, and I haven't decided about the other 2. But those snakes that I do have are really nice snakes, and I'm happy that I have them, and I still didn't pay market value for even one of them. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you really have to think about what you're doing. I absolutely made all my money back. So I basically had free snakes. I have all this equipment that I can sell if I wanted to, or use as backup equipment for like a future quarantine. Because it's been in quarantine over a year now with nothing in it. So it's like, I felt like it was a good choice. I am not sorry I did it. Be careful and be smart.
Yeah. And there's things you can do to like deduce how risky that collection is. Like, obviously, like if they look fat, if they look happy, no stuck, they look like they're well cared for, that's a higher probability they don't have problems, but not 100%. Then like if they had ball pythons, a bunch of other species all in the same rack, trigger sign. I'm
run
triggered.
away. Run away.
Because that means they were touching them all.
Right.
Different racks, different rooms, it's different. But usually like a large species mix in the same rack is absolutely
and be aware that most people that are getting out are not going to give you a NIDO guarantee. A, they probably don't do testing anyway, and B, they want out. They're leaving, and
they
want
might be out
because
they have NIDO.
They might be leaving because everything started dying, and they're like, "Oh fuck, I better get out now."
It happens a lot.
Or they're leaving and want the least obnoxious person to come buy their snakes because it's not worth their time. So if you want to buy a collection, you have to buy the collection, and in your brain plan for, 15 to 50% of it could be full of NIDO. So if half of it has to be killed, is it still worth it to you?
Right.
Like, that's just how you have to go into it. And then you have to, like I said, think about how much it's going to cost you to feed these animals. Are they going to lose all their value to you if you've kept them for 3 to 6 months feeding them because the market isn't supportive of selling off those adult females that you don't want? Anyway, so you just have to really do your research. Think, if you guys have questions or want me to talk to you about my experiences, you can private message me on Instagram, and I'd be happy to talk it out with you. But I think that we've beat the dead horse at this point.
All right. Hopefully we made Adam happy.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam, for the shout out.
All right, look at this snake. Holy fucking Jesus.
Is that a ball python?
I know.
Jesus.
So natural state exotics. I have to try to like figure out how to describe this crazy thing for the audio only people.
It's got like the GHI like shadowing coming up the side.
It's so weird. It's supposed to be just a leopard hypo puzzle based on the pairing, but it's the weirdest rusty red color.
It's almost like the Pompeii coloring on top,
or something.
That's
what is
really
it?
Really cool.
What is it? I just thought it was nice. It doesn't look like a platy daddy like or something.
Red stripe or red jean or that's.
And it also kind of looks like a chimera where like half of it's turned on and half of it's turned off because it's like darker.
Right, because it's like split, halfway is dark and half is light. Oh, maybe
it's cool. I love
like
it.
Really,
check
really
it out
cool.
on the internet, on the Instagram.
And who read that? Natural State. Okay.
I don't know. I just looked at it this morning. I'm like, I don't even.
Yes, I will take one of those.
No more news. New species of boa discovered. It's a dwarf boa, so the Tropidophis. Here's the range map. There's 2 like separate clades or regions where they're at. And we got a new one in southern Brazil. And they look like little goobers. I can't make this big. They have like a funny, like primitive boa looking face. And I care about boas. They remind me of like the Holloway reduced. There we go. Like a Holloway reduced Kenyan sand boa, because like there's less dots in the front and they like increase as they go back. What do you think, Jana? Is that cute?
It's kind of cute. It's almost like a boa with a rattlesnake. Like it's like squished face. I don't know. It's cute.
It's just a goober.
It's a goober.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the drama llamas. So if you don't want drama llamas, leave now. Thank you for coming. If the
current situation happening between Shane and MJ is triggering for you, please do not continue to watch. You can just exit now. We save it to the end for those that didn't want to be exposed to it, have the opportunity to leave or turn us off. But we are going to talk about Shane and MJ right now. You want me to just go?
I don't even know. How is it? Just talk. I don't even know how to frame this like in a correct way. So just talk. I'll just chime in when I'm feeling. I don't know if you have to re-explain the details or not. So I'm assuming don't.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, please go over. There's videos on Shane's YouTube. There's videos on
the
MJ's.
link will be for Shane's video in the show notes.
Right. There has been complaints of bullying happening from MJ. A lot of public bullying, and I know that I personally experienced that from him. And my thought process on that was to not give it airtime and to not draw attention to it or not call him out. I just didn't feel like that was productive. It felt like it was more drama or like fueling the drama. But you know, I've personally been affected by this, and it was a very difficult time. It was very difficult for Jessica to go through that with me, because man, it a lot of it got blown onto her, and you know, I almost left the hobby. I almost stopped doing the podcast. Like,
I don't want to interrupt, but I'll interrupt a little bit. Like, this is like an existential threat to this podcast continuing.
Right. And so
that's how bad it was.
So this isn't like a third party, he said, she said. Like, I personally experienced that, and that's why I feel like it's okay for me to talk about. I've also spent a lot of time on the phone with Shane talking to him. So that's why I'm speaking and not other people speaking. But I feel, you know, a lot of people who were in the 15 minutes of Lane contest also went through this with me, who were wonderful and supportive, but it was not good, people. And I consider myself pretty stable. You know, I've gone through a divorce and I've got lots going on in my life, but I'm generally pretty stable. And Jessica was like seriously worried about me. Like, I just was completely unstable for like 24 to 48 hours. I was like a fucking wreck.
I mean, I thought about like preventing you from doing the podcast so you wouldn't be hurt.
Right. And so it was like, it was, I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor me, I'm fine now, everything's fine. I'm just trying to let you know, like, the severity of this. And I consider myself pretty stable. I don't suffer heavily from any mental health issues. So imagine, like, there's a lot of people in the hobby who do suffer from mental health issues, who do struggle with depression and anxiety, who have problems integrating themselves socially. There's a lot of us on the spectrum here. It's just like, we're a weird bunch. And so imagine if someone who feels like they're pretty solid in themselves and has their shit together gets that rocked by the online public bullying, and then they decide not to say anything because they're not a drama person, and I don't want to draw drama to this or get into a fight or have people, you know, harass him in my name or, oh, shame on you. I don't need any of that. And I didn't want any of that, which is why I didn't share it. If you go and watch our Thanksgiving episode, I kind of talk about how grateful I am for the community. That's what that was about. And so with that in mind, I did nothing. And then it started happening like publicly to other people. And then it happened publicly to Shane Kelley. And Shane...
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
It didn't start happening. It's been happening.
It's been happening.
Like, I've been running... I mean, shame on me. defense, like making excuses for MJ. He
Because
doesn't know. I just
he-
thought I was trying to be a good friend. I was like,
Right.
oh, he didn't mean that, or
devil's
whatever.
advocate, like, oh, I'm sure. Well, and MJ has been very public about how he suffers from bipolar disorder, and that is my mother has bipolar. I have a lot of experience being around people like that, which is another reason I didn't play into it, because I'm just like, oh, he's not in a healthy space right now, and I'm just going to try really hard to like put it behind me and not take it personal, because he's not in a good place right now, and it's probably coming from that. And so, like, yes, we need to take it with a grain of salt, because he does have mental health issues, but also you are accountable for your actions. You are accountable for what you do. And when Shane stood up and was like, this is unacceptable, without any like attacking back, which I think isn't productive, it's just a very professional, very clean, this is what happened. Here's the evidence of what happened. And this is unacceptable. This is not okay behavior. And the way that we handle this in the hobby reflects on the entire hobby. And so, his game plan is, if you don't like what he's doing, then you need to reach out to the sponsors, because many, 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 many people respect what MJ's done. They respect his platform. He's got a great podcast when he's just doing his podcast and not talking any crap about people. Like, we really have talked a lot about his podcast on our podcast, admiring him. He asked about disease testing. He does a lot of good. And he talks about, increasing our quality of care for our animals. And he does a lot of good. And so I'm not like trying to cancel him, but I'm saying that this is unacceptable, and we do not have to allow it just because someone has mental illness or they had a rough upbringing. Like, that is not an excuse to emotionally attack and abuse other people. And so the public stuff that we've been seeing is a lot. If you look for it, it's a lot. And then when Shane did his video,
the private stuff was so much more.
He had an outpouring of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people coming to him saying that they had been bullied in chats, and they had screenshots. So it's not like a hearsay or I heard so-and-so did this. They physically had that experience themselves, and they sent him the proof of that and said, thank you, Shane, for standing up for us. And when I watched Shane's video, I actually cried because I felt like that. I felt like the kid on the playground who had been bullied and who felt like they had done the right thing by not making a big scene or causing more drama or calling a bunch of attention to it. But it was harmful to me and really harmful to those who are close to me. And I thought I had done the right thing. And then Shane stood up and said, no more. And then I'm like, actually, that's the right thing to do. And so I feel like he was like Captain America for the reptile industry. And the fact that it's so extensive is unacceptable. It's like this toxic cancer that's bleeding into the hobby and affecting so many people. And like I said, we have a community that suffers from mental health issues. We just all went through COVID. Like, even people who hadn't suffered from mental health issues are suffering now. Like, this stuff is unacceptable. Like, if I almost left the hobby, what is someone who's like so down that they're barely making it through the day going to do when this bullying happens? And so I think that it's really important that we all stand with Shane, and obviously please do what you feel like is right. I don't think that we need to be bullying back. I don't think that we need to be saying ugly or hurtful things towards MJ. I think it's enough to just say no more. This is unacceptable, and no more. And I think that that's enough. I don't think that we need to degrade him in any way. I don't think that we need to attack his family or his friends or stir more drama other places. But I do think that it is 100% acceptable to stand up and say no more, because no matter where you're coming from, you do not have to let people be toxic at you. Like, you're allowed to have boundaries that are healthy, and you're allowed to demand, basic human rights and respect. And I think that that's what's happening here. And that's how I would like to see it continue. So I made a post on my Instagram. You can go and see it. It just says, I stand with Shane. And I turned my logo red. And I know that a number of you, and I'm so grateful for that, have also done that and posted it to your Instagram pages. If that's something that you feel moved to do, absolutely do it. Please tag Shane or message it to me so that I can add it to my stories. I also have like a highlights album on my Instagram where I'm trying to keep everybody who's participating in that, just so that we can really see how far this reaches. It's it's unbelievable, the number of people who have been affected by this. And so I think that Shane is so brave, and that the fact that he stood up and said no more. And, you know, this hobby can be pretty brutal, and, you know, cancel culture is a real thing. And if they decide that you didn't do the right thing or aren't on the right side of something, like, they can push you out of the industry. And so it was a huge risk that he took to do this for all of us. And I mean, I could not be prouder to be his friend. I could not be more grateful as someone that experienced this, that he did that for us. Like, it was the coolest thing ever. And that's what makes our hobby great. And I'd really love to focus on that, rather than focusing on the bullying and bullying back, or the awful things that people are saying to MJ. Like, that's not necessary. His words will speak for themselves, and we don't have to be degrading in any way. We just have to stand firm and say no more. And that's enough, because literally the things that he has said online to people in private messages or public forums or on his YouTube is enough evidence that this is unacceptable, that we don't have to add to it. And that's what I would like to see, is just everybody standing together and saying, this is unacceptable. We don't accept this, no more. And so if you feel moved to do it, please do that. Please add it to your Instagram, throw it in your stories, or if you don't want to do it with your own logo, you're welcome to share mine into your stories. But like, if you do it, please tag Shane or message it to me, because it's just really amazing to watch it bloom into something this positive, and showing us being strong together, and respecting everybody together. And so if you do participate, be respectful. There does not need to be anything derogatory directed at MJ. I do believe that do you need to speak?
No, there's a fly. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I do believe that he is suffering from mental health, and that he is not in a good position, mentally and emotionally. And
what do you think his sponsor should do? Ask Bree.
That is not for me to say. I mean, that's not my business. I think if I was MJ and I was suffering from mental health issues, and I was not in a good frame of mind, and I was being this toxic to other people, I would remove myself for a time being from the public eye, from the public platform, and I would get help. And so that's what I would love to see. I'm not saying that he should never be allowed in the hobby again. There's a lot of room for forgiveness, but you don't have to let someone treat you that way and to still welcome them back later. You can do that without saying your behavior was acceptable. And so, I mean, I think he was contributing a lot to the hobby, but this toxicness is unacceptable and should not be allowed. And so I think he needs to take a little breather, and I think he needs to get himself right, maybe get some therapy, maybe talk to his doctor. I don't know his medication. That's not our business. I just know that he has shared that he is bipolar, and that requires a lot of work on his part. And it sucks that he was dealt a shitty hand. But like, I don't think we should hate him. I don't think that we should, burn down his house or chase him with pitchforks or string him up in a tree. I think we should be compassionate while still firm in this is unacceptable behavior and it won't be tolerated. So whether or not his sponsors keep him or drop him, that's between him and his sponsors. I do think that your dollar speaks. I personally spend hundreds of dollars with some of his sponsors on a monthly basis, and I will no longer be doing that. If he continues to podcast and he continues to bully people, I will not put my dollars with his sponsors. And so it's up to them to decide what they want to do with that information. But if he does not step out of the light and he does not get the help he needs and he does not change the behavior, then I will not be supporting anyone that's supporting him. If he chooses to step out of the light and he chooses to get help and his sponsors stick by him, rooting for his success and his well-being, then that's a different story. Then they're not losing my business. I think that is a positive and healthy thing to do, is to be supportive and warm. And I would love if our community could be that for him. Like, yes, this is unacceptable and we will not take it. But if you're willing to do the work and to get better, I think that the support from the community could really benefit him. It's a matter of what he chooses to do with that information, of whether this is going to turn out really ugly or not. I just don't think that the ugliness should come from us. We are talking about MJ's Cartel podcast and Shane and online bullying. But if you want to rewind it to before, once it goes live, goes up recorded, then you can catch all of it, because I kind of go pretty in depth.
Yeah. I've tried to think about what to say that's good. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like an idiot mostly because I was in his Patreon. I've seen people like politely ask him basic requests to be nice or whatever, and then there's a lot of like retaliation for that. So like you can ask him for an apology or tell him that you hurt some feelings. He can kind of half apologize, but he's like, I'm done. It never sinks in. So like this has happened dozens of
hundreds of times.
So like he kind of internalizes that there's a problem. He's like, I'm doing better. But then in the same video, he'll like pick 3 new people to blast. So I don't think he's really internalizing. So I don't know what to do about it. I'm not his mother, but I'm not in his Patreon anymore, and I don't support him until he acts consistently better. I did like him at various times.
Yeah, you can go back in our podcast and we sing his praises many times. Like, this is not a we hate MJ. MJ needs to get the hell out of the hobby. This is unacceptable behavior from anyone. It will not be tolerated.
Right. If somebody gets a little spicy every once in a while, obviously
we all make mistakes.
Right.
I mean, I have
a consistent policy of hurting people and then deflecting apologies and not doing them publicly. And you're just like, holy shit, what? I feel like I'm being gaslit. I'm not even involved. Like, he's like, it wasn't that bad. Well, I'm like, well, she's fucking crying. She's upset. You need to convince her that she's okay. Not say you think it's not that bad. Yeah. This has happened like 50 times.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm not a crier.
I'm
not a crier at all. Like, my kids had never seen me cry before. And I literally went through a divorce this year. I am not a crier. And I had to leave Thanksgiving dinner because I could not stop crying. And I got up to leave and my family's all there and my kids are all there. And I'm like bawling like a freak. And my whole family gets up, my dad, my stepdad, my kids, and they all like hugged me. And then I like ran out because like no one was eating, nothing. They were all just looking at me because they were like, what the hell? Like 36 years old and my family has never seen me cry like that. That's how fucked up I was over this. And I got myself right. And I had great friends and I had great support. I had family support in person. I had online support. Jessica had my back the whole time, even though I was being a nasty bitch to her. Like, people had me. So I righted myself and I got back to okay, probably within 48 hours. But I cried for like 24 hours straight because of the ugliness of it all. And it's just like, I just don't understand that kind of ugliness. And like, I've made mistakes. Like, I've made someone feel bad on the podcast. And I publicly apologize on the podcast for it. And I know that I made the mistake and I needed to say that I was sorry for it. And that person still chooses to not have any association with me. And that's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. Right. Like, you don't have to choose to associate with someone who's hurt you. But he's also not out blasting me anywhere. He's also not talking shit about me behind my back. He is just like, thank you for apologizing, but we're never going to have any kind of contact.
Right, that's fine.
And that's what adults do. That's good. That's healthy. That's fine.
Very healthy.
I'm not saying that I'm Miss Perfect and I've never hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah, I probably hurt somebody like twice a day. Easy. And his name is my husband. And it's because I talk to him. And he's like, ugh, gross. I'm kidding. I'm trying to make it happy a little bit.
And so, like, that's what I'm trying to make a point. Yeah, is we're not trying to cancel culture, MJ. We are trying to say this is unacceptable behavior from anyone in the hobby. That the hobby will not tolerate it as a whole. That we will stand up together and say no to this. And like I said, if he gets himself right and he consistently is better and he works on himself, then I absolutely think he should have the support of the community. Especially anybody going through a really hard time, they need that support. And so I don't hate MJ. I feel genuinely bad for the position that he's in right now mentally. And I think he legitimately needs to get some help for that. And I do think that he contributes to the hobby. I do think that he has a space in the hobby, but not if he's going to be toxic and bullying. That is not going to be allowed. So he needs to take a hard look and decide what he's going to do with that information. Pandemic pythons. I've been hurt by you, Jessica.
We should have like a meeting of people that I've touched inappropriately.
Right. And so like if I have hurt you on the podcast, or I have said something that was triggering or offensive to you, the appropriate thing is to reach out and to have an adult conversation. The reason that Shane didn't do that this time is because hundreds and hundreds of times this has happened, and people reach out and let him know, like, hey, this was not okay. And his response is, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that you're upset, but not like, I'm sorry for how I behaved. And then there's no change in behavior. And so I believe the reason that Shane did it this way was because the other way was not effective at all.
Blackjack says, I think you should focus on your feelings and not speak to his mental state, which is...
And you're not wrong.
Right, it's true.
It is true.
Like, we're still making excuses for what he's doing while doing that to me. Like, who knows what he thinks, really?
Right, I'm not trying to speak for him.
So she doesn't mean to, like...
What I'm trying to say is that we shouldn't, like, chase him with pitchforks and be awful to him. That we should try to be
because that doesn't help shit. That doesn't help.
Right.
Nothing.
That's what I was trying to say when I was speaking to his mental state, is that I was trying to say that we need to be kind to him, not horrible and ugly, like some people have gotten really, really upset by it and they're lashing out. And I don't think that that's
no more
productive.
Like nasty DMs on either side, because all kinds of people are getting them, like, fuck you, you're a pussy bitch. None of that. You could, a polite adult DM, like, I find this behavior unacceptable. I used to be a fan and now I retract that, whatever. But people are sending it to Kayla. Leave Kayla the fuck alone. Kayla, Jube Snakes. She doesn't even have anything to do with it. And she's getting like a new fresh batch of like shitty DMs.
Yeah. I mean, Shane, if you want to chime in here, we can shoot you a link. I know you were sleeping. If you want to speak for yourself, I'm not trying to speak for Shane. So anything that I said was my interpretation of how I think he's feeling and based on conversations we've had, but it is not law.
Shane says he's doing it on Samson's. All right, save it for Samson's.
He's going to be on Samson's next Wednesday, the What's in Your Cup, if you guys want to hear from him, from his mouth, which is usually the best way. I just felt the need to share because I was personally affected by it. And I also felt the need to share because I've seen a lot of negativity towards MJ. And I don't think that's the right approach. I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully 2023 we're on the way up, right? Instead of more down, up. I swear, up. Please. Is there anything else? I think we did it.
I think I beat the dead horse.
Okay, good. We're just gonna keep doing podcasts about dumb snake stuff and
complicated,
stuff.
Sexy spreadsheets. That's our ambition.
Titties. I love titties. More titties. Probably need more of those. That's what I want to do.
Well, I mean, you have two, so if you want more titties, help girl out. That's never going to happen, people.
I'm in the covenant of marriage.
Oh gosh.
I mean, let me check the Bible, see what it says about titties. Pretty sure if you control F titties, it doesn't come up actually. So I don't know what to do. I'm kidding. All right, we got to go. I'm getting loopy. Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you for your support. Thank you for our new sponsors.
Thank you all our new sponsors. I still can't believe that.
What? She's got the best idea.
Spreadsheets on titties. Yes, Lori. I cannot wait to have Lori on the show in the coming months. We do have a wait list of people who are wanting to sponsor. We're going to chat about what we can do to have other involvement, because I know there's a lot of you that didn't get into. We just had a certain number of spots we wanted to fill and then capped it. So if you've reached out to me and I have not responded about sponsorship, please reach out again. I can put you on the wait list. And we're just trying to figure it out as we go, people. But I'm very excited that we are taking sponsors and that so many people, wonderful people, are supporting us in our podcast. I just need to say that my views on the Shane MJ situation are mine alone, not the Holtback Racks, not Jessica's, not any of the sponsors. This is just Jana King's take on it, and I do not speak for them. And make your own decision. But if you want to stand with Shane, I would love to see more people posting that on Instagram. So love you. We've beat it to death. Have a great Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. We will be back next Friday.
Take care of your little ratties, everybody. Bye-bye.
Awkward.
I didn't click the
wait.
bucket.